Say what the heck you talking about, bro? Brand new whip got no keys. Let me get a little spicy with it, if you know what I mean. Live. It's not showing up yet, but we're live. That's all it really is. Better, yeah, actually, let me see something. Live. It's not showing up yet, but we're live. That's all it really is. Better, yeah, actually, let me see something. Yep. Alright. It's here. Alright. Let's continue. But yeah, no, so sorry about the streams not having any audio, especially the VODs too, which must be annoying for people who just want to see the story. But yeah, we're here now. The what's it called? The audio's here. Hopefully you guys can hear it. If you can't, let me know in the comments. But yeah, no, we're back with more Witch on the Holy Night. Last time I think for the most part, just talking to Alice and Alco had a pretty cute scene, but mostly just reiterating that they're not friends, they're just roommates. But yeah, we're back to it. So let's keep going. However, even after getting knocked down, Alco Aozaki was not one to be kept that way. She made short work of clearing up after dinner, and after conceding the first bath of the night to Alice, left the drawing room. Since it was customary in these sorts of mansions to turn off the lights when leaving an empty room, the only lit areas of the house were the drawing room and the two girls' bedrooms. Upstairs was enveloped in darkness. Alco briskly made her way to the deepest part of the east wing along the long corridor, illuminated only by the light of the moon, and arrived at her room.
結論としてやっぱり騙し討ちは気に食わない
She had been considering this on the way down the corridor, or perhaps even since she left the drawing room. And when she entered her room, she drew her proverbial line in the sand.
やるにしても隠れるのはなし正面から堂々と向かい合って理由を言う
This was not a concession driven by feelings of sympathy or compassion. For her, this was simply the way things ought to be.
よしそうと決まれば
After settling her resolve, she headed to the study next door.
木曜棚の当時欄緑の背拍子と
Without hesitation, she removed one book from the countless volumes on the shelf. The introductory textbooks transported here from the Aozaki residence was separated into 6 shelves, labeled Monday to Saturday. Aoki had, combined her last name and first name. It's a cute CG. Aoki had organized the books by topic, genre, and purpose, and had more or less memorized exactly what was in her personal library. Referencing any of this external material took her no time at all. It was to be expected from keeper of the study. Though this keeper's fiefdom was nothing more than a small room. Both Alco and Alice had given up all hope on the cluttered mess of a library in the annex. Nevertheless, on occasion, Alco would have no option other than to give Alice a heads up and visit it when the study did not meet her needs.
できればそれは避けたいところだけどと
Alco placed a thick green book down and took a seat. The desk she sat was sturdy but uninviting. It wasn't the sort of furniture girls her age grew attached to, but she liked its minimalist elegance nonetheless. She flipped lightly through the book's old, worn pages.
アリスみたいな結界は私にはまだ無理だ人払いはその場所自体に頼らないといけないか
Brand new book got no keys. Oh, shoot, my bad. I didn't even realize somebody was here. This game's about main character here, Ako Ozaki. She I can't go too deep into detail because I know what it's about, but it's spoilery because it hasn't gone into it yet. But basically, this girl, she's magic. She can wield magic. Her roommate can do it, and right now she's just going through her days as a high school student. Meet this other guy, Sojiro Suzuki. He's up from the wilderness. He's in high school now. Basically, never lived in human society until now. And yeah, we're just getting to know them really. It's only chapter 4, so it's still in the beginning. But just if you're interested, keep watching, I guess. The mountains, the woods, the school building, empty at night. She was looking for a place that would be, except for the worst of luck, void of people, allowing her to forego the use of magecraft.
茨の壁だの魔力の霧だの、そういう回りくどいのもなんだしな。退路を断つっていうなら、もっとこう見た目にも状況的にも派手な方が効果的だし。
Wondering about how there had to be some basic spell that fit her needs, she continued to flip through the pages. It goes without saying that she was looking for a way to deal with the witness from the previous night. Oh, excuse me. Magecraft's uses were many, but not all encompassing. Fundamentally, Magecraft was good for making things or phenomena that existed already, while more or less bypassing the time and resources conventional means would require. It was, however, unable to manifest phenomena that were impossible in this world. It was essentially an equivalent exchange that used a variety of shortcuts. A phenomenon made possible by human hands, actualized by an individual's power. That was generally what Magecraft was. To give a simple example, if Alko was so inclined, she could make an entire lake appear at the mansion. However, had it be something that existed within this world, nothing, not even the smallest matter, could escape this. Nothing, not even the smallest matter, could escape this unbreakable law. Even if Alko were to release a level of heat on par with an F-15 fighter jet's afterburner, that event will only be possible if the circuit named Alko Ozaki acted as a temporary input variable in a magical formula. The derived equivalence was simply a value that already occurred in reality. If the variable in the equation did not exist elsewhere in reality, the spell would not be valid. The imaginary element known as magical energy was like a lie that could only slip its fantasy through the network of order at the moment of ignition. This is a lot. These are a lot of big words that put together make even less sense. Giving form to the non-existent, illusions evading reality was something the universe did not allow.
とは言っても、エーテルは基本何にでもできるんで、大元が嘘なんだっけ。魔力だけで構成されたものは幻想扱いされて急速に消えていくとか。典型的な結界、茨の壁とかは、もともと茨を生やしておいて、魔力で一気に成長、強化してるものだし。魔力っていうのは結局、使い勝手のいいガソリン兼事象に火をつける火花ってわけで。なんて言いつつ、架空要素云々より基本的な回路の接続と魔力を加工して弾くことぐらいしかできないのよね。架空要素云々より基本的な回路の接続と魔力を加工して弾くことぐらいしかできないのよね、私。
Sorry, I'm still here. I'm just looking at something real quick. Alrighty. Laughing to herself, she looked for a battlefield or something similar and more suited to her current ability. Oh, there you go. The identity of the witness was still unknown, but if they were a classmate of Alco, she had any number of pretexts by which to lure them out. The problem was after that.
そうなると問題は命中率よね。一撃で決めないと逃げられちゃうだろうし。
She's gonna kill him. To be honest, she wasn't confident she could handle this smoothly without Alice's support. Alco saw no reason to ask for help, given that the target in question was a regular bystander. Let me check something. Hold on. Yep, you can still hear that. I have to make sure, and I have to make sure. Fledgling as she was, she still had her pride as a mage. She continued to turn through the pages rhythmically. In the midst of the fluttering sound of thumbing through the volume, Alco suddenly stopped her finger at a certain page.
見つけた。
She spelled it herself. It's a simple formula she had tucked away somewhere in the recesses of her mind. A spell of simple
檻を
destruction.
ね、作ればいいのよ。狩りをする時の常套手段じゃない。獲物を逃げられないようにするのは。
I keep forgetting. I have to read. Alright, she placed the bookmark in the book, closed it, and got up to return to her room. Suddenly, she felt someone watching. Suddenly, she felt someone watching her. Through the window, she saw her, in the night, a girl, staring back with a cold-hearted expression. The girl's face was hers, the expression undoubtedly her own. She began planning how to erase the witness. Though to say it was something as elaborate as a plan was overkill. This was just a job. She was going to make a cage and then lure her prey into it. There was no getting around it. Premeditated violence.
さ、そろそろアリスは上がったかな。
She mumbled aloud, as if the bath would return some warmth to her chilled heart. About 20 minutes had passed and she gave Alice the privilege of using the hot water first. Alice tended to bathe quickly, finishing well under 10 minutes. Murray was the type that could not understand the spirit of bathing, treating it as nothing more than a necessity for looking after one's body. For Alice, the concept of staying at a hot spring in sounded more like a chore than anything, though in this regard, Alco had to agree.
よし、浴場はカラッと。あれ、今に電気ついてる。
It was unusual for Alice to sit in the drawing room after her bath. On nights where she had nothing to discuss, it was just thought to return directly to her room.
アリス、いるの？
Oh, yeah, there she is. Alice nodded. With no book in hand, it appeared that Alice had been waiting for Alco.
そういうこと。私も信用ないな、ほんと。
Alco scratched her head in exasperation. Was it that Alice was worried about her, or had no faith in her? Her expression was so calm, Alco could hardly figure what she was thinking.
方針なら決まったけど。
Man, I'm sorry. I saw a recap of the Spurs and the Hawks game today for the NBA, and I really wish I watched it live because that game looked like a banger. That game looked like a heater. Shout out Trey, yeah, bro, he's so fire.
その顔を見れば聞かなくてもわかるわ。迷いがなくなったのはいいことだけど、悪い癖ね、青子。
Alice let out a small sigh. It was unusual for Alice to make such a display of her disappointment.
ええ、騙し討ちは趣味じゃないから。殺すにしても正々堂々、正面から理由を言った後にする。
You know, the game said like, oh, it's not for like a sense of sentimentality or compassion. She just genuinely operates just like this, but it's like inherently, I feel like it is a sense of like sentimentality and pride, because like he has no like no disregard, or not disregard, no hesitation about killing somebody, because it's natural, she's a mage, she has to. But it's the fact that like she still gives this person the benefit of the doubt before doing it, so it's like inherently it's pride mixed with that compassion. It's weird, but cool.
それならすっぱり後腐れもないし、文句ある？
文句はないわ。そういうの好きか嫌いかはこの際関係ないでしょうし。けど
確実性はどうかってことでしょ。私いまいち命中率悪いし、その辺の問題は場所選びでフォローしようかなと。私はアリスのようにはいかないから、物理的に逃げられない場所にしようと思うんだけど、何かアイディアない？
Alice nodded in thought. The finger that gently rested on her lips indicated that she questioned. Indicated that the question was to her liking.
鏡はどう？鏡の国なら永遠に閉じ込めていられるけど。
あんた、そういうところ常識ないわよね。
She frowned at Alice's bad taste.
鏡はどう？
あん
It was the kind of idea her roommate found to be inspired, but Akko knew it was out of the question. Akko was looking for a natural bonded feel she could prepare. Not a realm bordering on true magic that she couldn't create to begin with.
なら他を当たるのね。でもここを使うのだけはやめてちょうだい。
言われなくても分かってるって。けどそうね、ミラーハウスはいいアイディアかも。
Akko smirked and shifted her balance away from the wall she was resting on.
サンキューアリス、全体の流れは出来上がったわ。ほんとこういうのってダメ元でも相談してみるものよね。
Now in a good mood, Akko retreated from the drawing room. Alice tried and failed to visualize what kind of blueprint Akko had drawn up in her mind, but whatever it was, it appeared to be thorough. Oh man. It appeared to be the thorough kind Akko was good at. Akko headed for the bathroom, humming to herself as she went. A year and a half of sharing a living space had taught Alice something. When Akawazaki was in this good of a mood, only deep trouble could follow.
青子一人に任せていいのかですって。
It was unclear how long the bird had been in the drawing room. Chirping at Alice, the robin-like bird pranced across the furniture as if it was its property.
そうね。彼女が一人でやると言ったのだから、任せるのが正しい信頼関係なんでしょうけど。
The girl in black raised her arm. The bird, chirping once again, alighted on her outstretched, affectionate finger.
嫌な話だけど、信頼と信用はまた違う話よね。
The bird puffed out its stout chest in agreement, and Akko was none the wiser to her roommate's rather unsettling comments. I'm on swerve in the corner. Whoa. The following day was a typically overcast one. The day his classes ended as they had started, not eventfully. Winter break was just around the corner, and with it, final exams. So cool. So interesting how Japan's school system is different from ours in the US. I know this because of Persona, so I'm not gonna act like I know everything. But the fact that the school year for them ends in winter, and they come back after winter break. But for us, it's the summer. And so it's interesting because they don't have a 3-month break. They still get summer, which is like a month, but still. Overall, they just have less days because they have 6-day weeks. And on top of that, they just have less vacation days. But it's just interesting. It's interesting how it's handled. Although Misaki High prided itself on discipline, it was still a private school which promoted a culture of independence among its students. Industrious students had a place to explore that side of themselves under the guardianship of the student council president. More easygoing students could spend their time after school as they wished, as long as they were mindful of personal responsibility. The fact that the poster boy of independence was student council vice president indicated just how vast the spectrum was.
青崎いるか
Is that Tobimaru? Tobimaru Tsukiji threw open the door. Tsukiji threw open the door to the satellite student council room, the rumored location for their secret meetings. Despite all appearances, he was the student council vice president, who also happened to be the poor soul responsible for executing the student council's dirty work. Once one person was waiting for him in the cramped room. The student council president, Aoko Ozaki, sat imperiously in a folding chair, glaring at Tobimaru, his boisterous entrance.
相変わらず寒いなこの部屋なあ今度ストーブ購入しようぜ
So as not to succumb to Aoko's oppressive silence, Tobimaru opened with some casual small talk.
お疲れ様。ところであんた、何しに来たのか分かってる？
まあなただ事務的に話すのって寒いじゃねえか少しぐらい世間話でもしねえとつまらねえだろ
Tobimaru closed the door and sat down across from Aoko. He was holding a blue envelope.
こういう時は無駄口は叩かない方がいいわよ。
That's such a bar. I've heard that phrase before, but that's such a bar. Loose lips sink ships. Crazy. Alright.
なんとなくプロっぽいでしょ。
なるいやいやいやいや
Tobimaru was halfway to agree with Aoko before he caught himself and began to shake his head. As much as Tobimaru enjoyed the lack of red tape in his new life of work, he was not ready to turn full spy on his first day on the job.
それで、調べ終わったの？
ああついさっき最後の聴取を済ませてきた詳しいことはその封筒に入ってるお前から渡された例のファイルもそん中
He tossed the envelope on the table.
そう。
Aoko picked it up and began to scan through the documents that were inside. She had her own little world, not sparing the slightest bit of attention for Tobimaru. If ignoring other people were a skill, she would be a master at it.
なあ一つ聞きたいんだけどよ
だから、何？
The room was filled with a chilling silence. Aoko continued reading without an ounce of emotion upon her face. Though Tobimaru kept up an air of indifference, his stare remained fixed intently on
青
her.
崎そういうの作って楽しい
楽しいわけないでしょ。こんなの作ったところで、あんまり使う機会なんてないんだから。
そうかならいい
Whether or not he was convinced, Tobimaru stood up from his chair with a disappointed expression.
最後まで読めばわかるだろうがあんまり確証は取れなかったぜというより一昨日あの辺りにいた生徒はいないって話になりそうだまあ断定はできないけどな
No longer concerned over his task, Tobimaru headed to the door, as if to say it was out of his hands.
とそうだそういえば一人だけ該当しなかったやつがいる季節外れの転入生までは青崎も調べきれなかったみてえじゃねえか
Aoko raised her head ever so slightly. He was right. The recent transfer student was not included within the scope of her
そん
investigation.
なわけでその字に関しては調べてないぜ
Sonoji.
まああいつならいつだろうと遅くまでバイトだろうがいや人殺しを見たなんてこと口走ってるようじゃ家で悪い夢でも見てたのかもしれねえか
Tobimaru cheerfully left the student council room. She didn't say that. That's weird. What? And the documents she was holding spilled all over the table.
そんな、まさかね。
She broke out in a cold sweat and tried to tell herself that there must be some kind of mistake. However, the uncomfortable feeling in her gut would simply not go away. Perhaps because her intuition was almost right at times like these.
馬鹿らしい。
And yet she knew what she had to do. She would not have, excuse me, she would not have hesitated to kill Tobimaru if he had been the witness. But what if it was who she was thinking? That's crazy, by the way. Wow. Not even Tobimaru. Just considering the possibility caused her blood to run cold. Ako put her forehead in her hands and began to brood. And then suddenly, let us talk choice. You will always be faced with choices. A virtuous fool and a wicked sage. You cannot save both. You must pick one. This is freedom granted to you. 2 years earlier, Ako muttered the words offered by her grandfather to she replaced her elder sister as her successor and let out a sigh of lament.
すごくバカみたい。
She laughed at her own intuition, but it was no joke. If only those words had never been said. Ako locked up the student council room and left for the day, calmly, as though nothing untoward had happened. She greeted the students as they passed her in the halls. She was almost shocked by how natural she seemed. There were still plenty of students at the school. The grounds were noisy with the chattering of students who had finished the day but had yet to go home. Others still had club activities. The gray sky looked ready to pour, but nobody seemed to pay it any mind. Oh man. Amidst the clamor, Ako hastened to the school gate. She passed by some students in animated conversation. They seemed to be talking about their after-school plans. Apparently, they were adamant about maximizing their free time. She could not figure how they could possibly be so irresponsibly focused on fun. At the same time, was in no mood to make fun of or feel envious of them. 2 years prior, she should have been just like them.
目は覚めてるのかな、私って。
She retied her scarf, this time more tightly, to give off an air of solitude. She was fooling no one. After all, what people who feign solitude are really masking is rejection.
そうよね。孤独っていうのはああいうのを言うもんでしょうし。
The area by the school gate was busier than usual. A group of boys appeared to be huddled behind it. Their transparent attempt to be discreet in terms of both location and loudness of voices did nothing to hide the fact that they were noisily arguing about a girl standing alone on the other side of the street. My goodness, it's a long sentence. The girl was cloaked in a black cape. At first glance, it could have been mistaken for normal attire, but those from Misaki could tell she wore the uniform of a prestigious girls' school. Such school had no connection to Misaki High in any way, shape, or form. The two schools were miles apart both physically and spiritually. A member of that school's student body was a rare sighting, as the majority were forced to live in a school dorm. Rain? How do you pronounce that? Let me see. I'm a swab in the corner. Whoa. Let me see if I can find a pronunciation. Kevlar. Yeah, Ray, but like Rain. Rayen. Weird. I'm gonna say Rayen. Rayen Girls Academy had a reputation as a school for princesses, and it was rare indeed for one to be slumming with the common folk. That alone would have been enough to cause a ruckus among the boys. This girl looked the epitome of the class. What can I help but describe the standing figure as charming? The way she silently, motionlessly waited was reminiscent of a meticulously composed portrait. Alka took one look at her before instantly recalling that one word. Solitude.
まったくうちの男子どもは家に帰りもせず陰でこそこそやってるのはそういうこと。
Disgusted, Akko barged through the gate. At this point, she would normally head home, but today she crossed the street toward the waiting girl.
あれなるは生徒会長様。くそ、追っ払う気なのかよ。 痛いんならいつまでだっていさせてあげればいいじゃんか。てか怒られるのあの天使。よその生徒でも校門前にいるぐらいなら別に問題はないと思うけど。青子女子は容赦ねえからな。下手すると平手だぜ、平手。
The boys ran their mouths behind her back. Not in the mood to shut them up, Alko walked up to the girl and offered an informal wave.
どうしたのアリス。こんなところに来たって何も面白いことはないって言ったのに。
ありえねえ。
Alko heard the boys by the gate lose their collective minds and did her best to ignore them.
あのことを確かめに。青子、あの人たち邪魔なんだけど。
分かってる。今追っ払うから。
In contrast to Alice's small voice, Alko spoke loud and clear. Naturally, this was on purpose, so as to deal with the riffraff by the gate all at once.
会長こっち来んぞ。おい押すなよ、後ろのやつどけって。俺校舎に逃げるから。いやでもあの子会長と知り合いなんでしょ。うまく会長に紹介してもらうとか。さすが一年坊主、まだ戦場の現実ってもんを理解していねえ。よし、死の間際までいい夢見ろよ。
Perhaps because too many of them had gathered in one place, the mob entered a frenzied panic as they tried to escape. Alko addressed them all.
さーて、部活動があるわけでもなし、ただ家に帰るだけの帰宅部の皆さん、こんなところで何を集まってるのか教えてくれる？
Oh my goodness. The student council president stared daggers at the boys.
何しろ試験前だもの。身になることなら私も教えてほしいけど、まさかガン首並べて女学院のお嬢様を眺めてただけなんてことはないわよね。声をかける勇気もなくて眺めてただけなんてことは。
That is true. One of them was brave enough to admit that this hit the nail on the head. Even if any of them had such courage, they would have already been chatting the young lady up.
いや僕教室にちょっと忘れ物が。こんなオチならダメ元で玉砕しとくんだった。天文部に行って双眼鏡借りるのどうだ。屋上からお顔を賜るとか。
Oh, these guys are weirdos,
ある
bro.
としたら野鳥同好会じゃね。
Wild bird. How big is this school?
それ先月会長が潰したじゃん。鳥めでてる暇があるなら彼女作れって。
ああ、彼女作れですか。すみませんっす。今日は裏口から帰るっす。ザキさん。くっそ。じゃあな会長。また明日。
And with those oh so charming remarks, the boys scattered with their tails between their legs. What a bunch of weirdos, bro.
楽しそうね。
あ、わかる？
Of course. Aqua's response slipped down a little too easily. Yeah, like surprisingly easily. In truth, there were not that many bad apples at Misaki High, and dealing with them wasn't really that bad.
で、ここまで出向くってことは何か分かったの？
結界に残っていた気配の識別は、あとはここで確かめればいいだけよ。
そう。ん？アリス、いつからここに？
下校時刻から。
Wow, okay, so she had been there for roughly an hour. Standing in the same place for an hour would be tested for someone as sensitive to the cold as Alice.
悪いわね、無理させて。
別に好きでやってることだから。
As she spoke, her black eyes were fixed upon the gate and the students passing through it. She had been likely observing the gate in this manner for the past hour.
私を待ってたわけじゃないんでしょ？ 今からでも付き合うわ。
Alice nodded in assent. If Alice was still here, it meant she had not found a witness yet. If she had found a student, Alice would have already gone home ahead of Alco and begun to research the student's background.
私の方はダメだった。
Hold on, let me pause you real quick. It's not enough. Huh. Didn't realize 504 and didn't know how to spell. That's funny. Alright. It's not enough. Okay. Anyways. She reported the results to Tomar's investigation. Alice remained silent. With that conversation ended, leaving the two to silently. Okay, game, thank you. With the conversation ended, leaving the two to silently endure the freezing wind. Silent stakeout dragged on endlessly. Students continued to pass the gate, each shocked at the sight of the unusual combo, and head home. After 20 minutes, Alco let a sigh escape from her mouth. Perhaps from boredom, perhaps from the cold, or perhaps from both.
ねえ、アリス。帰り黎明に寄ってかない？
Alco quickly turned to Alice to catch her reaction. Dawn was the name of one of Alco's favorite coffee shops. Offering no clear indication as to whether she was critical of Alco's. But. Huh? Is that. Blase blah? Blase? Because I've heard blase before. Didn't know what it meant, but still. What type of apostrophe is that? That one. Okay. Blase. Yeah, I was right. Blase blah. Yeah. Man, this visual novels, man, they be increasing my knowledge. Do you like paint? Alright, let's continue. Offering no clear indication as to whether she was critical about Alco's blase attitude or agreeing to her whims, Alice's gaze shifted ever so slightly. Alco followed her stare.
俺、青崎も待ち合わせか?
Oh, look at that, soldier. Sudden voice took her off guard. There's only one person who spoke with his gentle, good-natured tone.
そう。やっぱそうなるわけか。
Turning her back to Alice, Akko moved her focus to the newly appeared student.
それで、今日は何の用?
All politeness flew out the window. Already in a bad mood, Akko's mood plummeted the longer she looked at it. Man, leave him alone. He ain't do nothing. The subtlety of her expression, however, was lost on him.
いや、これから駅前で水泳部の部長と待ち合わせなんだけど、そのことでお礼を言っておきたくて。
That was completely unexpected. Thanks. Joining a club. Ako had a hunch that he was about to say something brainless.
ふーん。お礼ってお礼参りってこと？
Fortunately, Sojiro was completely unaware of the more sinister implications to the word payback.
よくわからないけど、そんな大したことじゃないよ。ただ、水泳部は夏までそう忙しくないって話だったから。
Sojiro was just about to thank her for recommending a club that would not take up as much of his time, when Ako cut him off with an expression of disinterest.
当然でしょ。幽霊部員になりそうな生徒なんて紹介できないから。忙しいあなたでも務まりそうな場所があったから口に出しただけよ。
なるほど、無駄がないね。
His open admiration for her sapped Alco's will to fight. She's so mean to him. Finding a suitable club and negotiating with his captain hadn't been an efficient use of her time at all.
とにかくお世話になったから、それで礼を言っときたくて。
Sojiro gratefully dipped his head, but not before the flustered Alco stopped him.
よしてよ。今あなたにそんなことされても迷惑だから。それで水泳部はどう？やっていけそう？
An awkwardness infiltrated her previously sharp gaze. Sojiro was able to pick up on that odd change in her behavior, but could not divine its reason. So he simply started with what he knew so far and reported the most recent information he had.
ああ、水泳部はクビになった。
Oh my gosh.
なんでよ
Akko instinctively shouted at the unexpected response. Like a human jack in a box. This unexpected development threw her mind in a tizzy, and she momentarily forgot the complicated feelings she had been wrestling with.
だって今から待ち合わせだって。
それはこれからヤシロギの温水プールに連れて行ってくれるからだよ。
Sojiro stated this very matter-of-factly to the still reeling Alco.
話がつながらない。そこまでうまくいってるのに、どうして入部を拒否されるのよあんたは。
そりゃ俺が泳げないからだろ。
Ah, Sojiro, God bless your heart. Akko reached up with her fingers and pinched the bridge of her nose as she processed his answer.
しずきくん、昨日の私の質問は覚えてる？走るのか泳ぐのか、どっちがいいかってやつ。私の記憶は正しいけど、一応確認しておくわね。あなた、確かに泳ぐ方だって言ったけど。
ああ、昔から泳げないのはなんとか克服したかったんだ。反対に走る方は得意だけど。
Her energy spent. Alco finally understood.
俺が1年なら1から鍛えてくれたらしいんだけど、あと3ヶ月で3年になる身分なのに、金槌の部員は雇えないそうだ。けど部長が親身になってくれて、これから泳ぎを教えてくれることになったんだよ。
Sojiro's words are spoken from a place of joy, a fact that failed to reach Alco.
つまり欠陥品を売りつけたってわけか。こりゃ水泳部の部長に合わす顔がないと。ちょっと待った。
Oh, okay, I was so short.
しずきくん、水泳部の部長って。
She stopped herself short of a girl. Short of a girl. She was afraid of how that might look, and she might not be able to rein herself in if she started.
もういいわ。気持ちは分かったから、どこか遠くにいてくれない？少し疲れてて、とてもじゃないけどあなたの相手はしていられないの。
飛び丸もそんなことを言ってたな。青崎は昨日と今日、珍しく疲れてるって。何かあったのか？
ちょっとね。でもいいの。解決したみたいだから。それより、しずきくんはどう見える？私、そんなに疲れて見えるのかな？
Why had she asked him this? blurting out things for no reason on impulse. This was not usual for Alco. Perhaps it was because she realized that this would be their last chance to have a normal conversation. After a few moments of contemplation, Soldier conjured up a grin that cut straight through the tension.
そうだな。疲れているというより生き生きしているように見える。仕方なく畑を耕していた狼が久しぶりに狩りに出ることになって機嫌を上げている感じだ。
He seemed so cheerful. Like he was so happy for her. Without thinking, Ako's hands went to her cheeks. If what he said was true, then she was grinning from ear to ear. There was just no way she would have made such a mistake.
とにかくありがとう。じゃあ、また明日。
It's funny, Alco's watching. Perhaps still not comfortable enough to wave to her. He said his goodbye with sincerity in his voice and smile and took his leave.
こんな話があるの。聞いてから言って。
There you go. I wanted to say that Alice is watching all of this, so she probably has the impression that she likes him, or she's a goober. Nah, for real. Shout out Soto G, bro. I gotta put my mic away from what's it called? Oh man. Real professional streamer. Alright. Yeah, it's just funny. Really got Alice over here just doing nothing, really just NPC standing over there. Hey. Her voice was cold as she admonished herself for having been somewhat affable. Or affable? Yeah, affable. Yeah.
意味のない例え話よ。そうね。あなたが空腹で死にそうな時、目の前に同じように空腹で死にそうな2匹の動物がいるとするわ。しずきくんに銃をあげる。それでどちらかの動物を撃って。右はライオンで、左は子猫。選ぶのはあなたの自由だから。
It was a fable-like moral dilemma, especially the way in which it was cruel and rather preachy. The kind that if you thought too hard about it, you can never find an answer. Soshiro answered quickly and calmly.
いや、撃たないと思うよ。だって自分の好きにしていいんだろ。それにほら、空腹ならお互い様だ。
He was not in the least bit fazed by the dilemma. He gave the most innocent response, so innocent in fact that it would give anyone pause.
長生きするわ、あなた。
すごいセリフだな。そんなことを言われたのは多分君が初めてだ。
I mean, to be fair, it's not really a normal thing to say. Adorning his face was a smiley wholly out of sync with his comment.
何よそれ。
She regretted stopping him. If only she had just watched him go, the conversation would have never happened. Leave him alone. Sojourner Suzuki made his way down the slope street. Today, just like every day, he probably had to work late again. Only Alco and Alice remained, with Alice doing what she could to simply blend in.
つくづくこっちのペースを乱してくれるわね。あの人畜無害の田舎者は。
Alco clenched her right fist tightly as she cursed out loud. Anything to prevent herself from screaming at the top of her lungs. Whether that scream would be directed towards Sojo or towards herself was another matter entirely.
青子。
Alco had heard Alice's soft voice behind her. Alco knew that what she was going to say is what she had known for the entire time. Ever since Alice, having shown no reaction to any of the other students, changed her expression upon seeing Sojo.
言わなくてもいい。あいつでしょ、目撃者は。
Her voice was cold as ice. It was the voice of someone talking about a complete stranger. The lion and the kitten. There was pros and cons to choosing either of these animals. The point being that she had asked him to choose one of them. In terms of risk, the lion was a more dangerous choice. The instant the gun was pointing at it, there was a chance it would fight back. Those who chose the lion required more courage, but any sense of guilt that came with holding a gun would be forgotten. Lions were fierce creatures, a poor excuse to shoot an animal perhaps, but one that certainly helped alleviate the guilt. What about the kitten, the weaker creature? It goes without saying that the kitten would be the easier target of the two, but choosing it would be a quite disquieting decision for anyone. Even if the kitten had no chance to survive, it was still too senseless to carry out. And to Alco, Sojiro was that choice.
てっきり私もそうだと思ってた。
She had felt that second feeling in the student council room. She ignored it. There's no getting around what must be done, she told herself. Until, that is, Sojiro went out and said what he did, causing her resolve to waver. What's this? Nah, it's fair. Poor Alice is over here like, man, won't you just kill him? Like, just pop him, just do it. Let me see, what did I miss? Goodness, I missed a lot. Alright. But a discomfort in her chest did not stem from any guilt she may have felt. She would care less for Sojiro. She could care less for Sojiro. He was weak and would be incredibly easy to deal with. Yet for some reason, she could not dispel her reservations. A transfer student who moved to the city from the middle of nowhere with no family to speak of. Let me put this. Few would notice if he were to suddenly disappear compared to a person of some renown. If she were to kill him, it would be as simple as ringing a cat that's dark, that is very dark, good lord, and that all served just to piss her off. It was too lucky, like everything was neatly handed to her. She wanted to drop kick it right into orbit.
信じられない。私嫌がってる。これは違う。こんなの私じゃない。
Standing behind her, Alice heard all of the muttering. Nevertheless, she seemed that's a typo.
彼、首に布を巻いていたわね。
Yeah, that's weird because she seemed to ignore it and said, yeah, well, she already said that. A wholly unrelated topic. I could return to her senses.
首？
ええ、水泳部の首とかけていたのかしら。
Alice had put much thought into this, as if it had deeper meaning to her somehow. It does. It does.
そういえば、あいつ初めて会った時も首に布巻いてたっけ？襟を行儀よく締めてるから目立たないけど。
The conversation had turned to idle nonsense. And though it solved none of her current problems, it did help calm Alco's frazzled nerves.
サンキュー。落ち着いたわ、アリス。それと、気合も入った。善は急げ。あいつが言いふらす前に決着をつけよう。
Sojiro knows like 2 people. Who's he gonna spread the rumors to? And better yet, if it were rumors about you, he wouldn't spread any because he doesn't know how to. He doesn't even know what a rumor is. Oh no, I'm actually like, I noticed a few typos, but like no more than a handful. I'm really impressed with this game's translation for this one at least, because of the fact that I've seen visual novels that are significantly worse with it. So the fact that it has, you know, good vocabulary and only a handful of typos is already good on my book. That is true. Sojiro, which proves my point even more. Sojiro is literally a man who his word cannot really be trusted because he doesn't know anything. It's crazy, but I just feel so bad for him. For now, they would retire to the mansion and prepare for battle. Ah, that's probably why. I'd have to see that there. Overall, though, I'm still enjoying it. The presentation is crazy.
いいけど、いつどこで彼を殺すの？
He said quietly so as not to be overheard by anyone else. Normally, Alco had to rein in that side of Alice, out in the open as they were, but this was far from a normal situation.
今日の夜、場所はとっておきの夢の国よ。
She gave a fearless laugh. A strange, pleasant sound. Like the one that would make... Oh my gosh. No! Game, what do you... No! End the chapter. Cool, alright, whatever. I guess I'm reading the VOD then. Oh, like one would make when meeting their lover. Okay. Cool. First we're saving. Saving right here. And let's go to the let's go to the archives. See what's going on. Is this yeah, no, there's I already read this. There's nothing here, so I already read this too. Oh well, no, it's chapter 2. And this I did read though. Alrighty, well if there's nothing else, then I'll just keep going. Night of the Witches. Yeah, no, for real, this is one song that keeps popping up. It's I wish I could find it in the actually better yet, I still can. Go to the title real quick. I want to see if I can find it. Extra archive CG sound mode. Where is it? I wonder if it has it as the name of the actual song. Nah, they don't. Oh well. But yeah, there's just this one song. Oh, for real. Let me just continue. Alright. Soldier returned to his apartment on foot as per routine, under a blanket of clouds in the night sky. The rusty stairs of his apartment building clanged with each step. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see the bicycles parked by the apartment building's outer wall. He debated the pros and cons of a bicycle. How much easier life would be versus the expense. The convenience versus the necessity. But in the end, decided one was not right for him just now. It's funny, because like, you look at this, his apartment, it reminds me of Steins Gate Original, where, and it's spoilers for the other person who's here, I guess. But when Okabe meets Moeka in her apartment and just starts boxing her, it reminds me of that apartment and how that scene went out. Crazy. I can't wait to play those again. I already read that. Clutching the bag of apples under his arm, he took out the key to his apartment, his residence. He tilted his head in confusion. More and more he found himself preoccupied with random thoughts, when the real issue at hand was deciding what to do with the apples he had received. Nah, for real, at 18 years old, beating up a 21-year-old woman. Man, he was desperate. He placed the paper bag by the sink and switched on the lights. It's just after 10 in the evening. With the end of term exams just around the corner, he had come an hour earlier than usual. As he made back for the kitchen to pick one of the apples to snack on, found an envelope stuffed in his mail slot. The envelope had no name, return address, or stamp. Inside was a single piece of paper that had only the sender's name and a short message. It read,
話があるので、今夜どこそこのここに来られたし、大事なようなので、来るまでずっと待っている。
Stupid game, bro.
話があるので、今夜どこそこのここに来られたし、大事なようなので、来るまでずっと待っている。言うまでもなく、他言無用。
Alright. A concise set of orders, neatly written. It was signed Aoko Ozaki. She had been considerate enough to enclose a detailed map of the meeting place. Puzzled, he cocked his head to the side, then headed out the door. Afterward, upon the room's sole tenant leaving the premises, the envelope burst into flames and evaporated without a trace, as though it had never existed in the first place. That's funny. That's really funny. If only he's seen that. If only. By the late 80s, Japan's post-war economic boom had somewhat stabilized and the city experienced a period of steady growth. Yakuza 0, that's when it takes place. The city's modernization marched on and the Japan Railway Station... Goodness, excuse me. The city's modernization marched on and the Japan Railways train station, a symbol of a new era, neared completion. Okay, that's a comma, yeah. Alright. In Misaki's neighboring town of Yashirogi, a new symbol of its own was about to be born. Yashirogi bred in Kitsuland. It was Misaki's worst and best. Wow, okay. Years later, it would be dubbed the Fools Go to the Economic Bubble, a relic of a bygone era. Age. Yeah, if we were about to see Majima right now. This is Yakuza 4, 10 years ago. Yashirogi's renowned Tokitsu Baking Company ran factories all across the nation. Its proprietor was a middle-aged gentleman, then aged 56, by the name of Yorihiko This is a lot of text, hold on. Yurihiko Tokitsu, known affectionately by most as Tapan. Okay. He took it upon himself to begin development on an estate on the outskirts of Yashirogi and broke ground on a recreational wonderland that he hoped to be the pride of Misaki City. This is a crazy song that keeps popping up. I gotta look at the name of it when I'm done with this stream. It's crazy. The long-awaited opening came in 1981. After 3 years of investment, the local amusement park, full of kinds of hopes and dreams, began its short-lived tenure? Is that what it said? It covered more than 85... I can't read tonight, good lord. Tenure. Okay, it covered more than 85 square acres. Its magnificent merry-go-round dazzled all who passed through the park gates. Its roller coaster twisted and turned about the edges of the park like a writhing Japanese dragon. Its Ferris wheel, packed beyond necessity with gimmicks, was said to have tested the limits of modern engineering. Nah, for real, this game's music is insane. Old Yurihiko looked upon his creation and smiled. It's alive! Only boosting his confidence was the fact that its grand opening was staged during a period of prosperity, the springtime of the world. But, in spite of this, it splendidly miscalculated the balance between aspirations and sophistication. Its mascot, Kitsy, was poorly designed to appear like a cheap knockoff. That's disrespectful. The park was stuffed to the brim with bread stands. Even its impossible to navigate mirror maze seemed out of date from the start. There are no dreams to be had at Kitsyland. Only nightmarish stats. That is disrespectful. Oh my goodness. Numerous trade magazines lambasted Kitsyland's shortcomings and customer attendance declined. There was even an incident where a 6-year-old strayed from his mother had it at. Oh my goodness. Kitsyland, please shut it down. 5 years after the park opened, the situation had grown from bad to worse, and the park was hemorrhaging money. On top of everything, Yurihiko, who had bet everything on the success of mascot Kitsy, retired, and Kitsyland's operations were officially in trouble. and thus amidst the scorn of nearly all residents of the area, ended Misaki's one and only amusement park. What's more, perhaps the best described as a footnote to this debacle, the self-proclaimed Paris... Hold on. How do you pronounce that? Man, this is why I'm illiterate. Let me see. Parisian. Okay, that's what that is. Parisian artist who designed the mascot Toki. There's another word. That, good lord, these names, man. Toki Yulik? I'm gonna say Yulik. Was said to have snapped his brush in mourning over the cloak. Wow, that's sad. Good lord. Yeah, no, for real. Like, this is genuinely... Kitsy Land is moving like something out of Defunct Land, like that one YouTube series. Talking about Charles Entertainment Cheese. Talking about Kitsy... Well, I don't even know what his full name would be, but still. Returning to the present. What a detour. Or, well, not a detour. I guess, it makes sense as we're going here. It was midnight in the Kitsy Land, and today was a shadow of its former glory. Like a doll abandoned in the corner of a toy box, the lonely park was illuminated only by the light of the town that continued to live around it. Sojiro closed the Yashirogi guidebook that he picked up on the way here. The story of its history was almost difficult to believe, but he supposed that this is what people refer to as entropy. The park's front gate was unlocked. When he worked here with the previous time, the iron fence was locked shut with a rusty chain, but the chain was nowhere to be seen. I am so illiterate. Oh my goodness. Nowhere to be seen, and the gate left ajar. Okay, I'm about to say, what was I continuing? Following the map drawn in the letter, Sojiro quickly made his way inside. Sounded urgent. Oh, my fault, Cake. I didn't know. Sojiro complained, quite out of character for him. It was probably because, in spite of his naivety, even he knew that something was amiss. Though the park was abandoned, this is still trespassing. Unlawful entry, larceny, burglary. These were certainly not things, or perhaps crimes, that Sojiro was proud to do, but... What a good man. Money, apparently, was why his conscience was gnawing at him. Of course it was. He clapped his hands in apology towards the statue of Kitty. Bro, I can't. Hold on. I didn't realize he was like that, bro. That's so funny. He clapped his hands in apology toward the statue of Kitsy, on whose eyes the paint had begun to aptly dissolve. Sojiro passed the mascot, bleeding red paint from its eye sockets, and began to walk the night park. This man is a brave soul, meeting the girl that he just vaguely likes. That's it. The building's colors have faded. The collection of machines was rusted. The man-made residents no longer felt the passage of time. Even the ghosts themselves cannot endure the disparity between its forsaken place and its previous grand stature. It was like a fossilized dream. Those are the ruins of a paradise both created and abandoned by man and reality. And God, I guess. When you're moving, the economy has stabilized and the standard of living was on the rise. When we was overly concerned with the future, those are the remains of a wild and exciting era. His breath turning to white wisps before him, Sojiro continued through this abandoned amusement park. Devoid of human presence, this is not nearly as frightening as the darkness deep in the mountains. City suburbs can take many different forms, but Kitsyland was unusual for an amusement park in so much as it had been built adjacent to a residential district. The park was surrounded by a forest, but even that, ultimately, was man-made. It was no different from the curtains on a classroom window. Wow. If he were to scale the iron fence encircling Kitsyland and break through the 20 yards of forested trees, he would make it back to the familiar townscape. Though the amusement park tended to arouse dread in the city folk, to Sojourner it was a little different. I am such a slow reader. Hold on. There you go. Oh wow, that's really high up. Okay. Though the amusement park tended to arouse dread in the city folk, to Sojourner it was a little different from the commotion and terror of downtown. Oh, okay. I guess that really is it. The central plaza was silent as a grave. According to the map, the meeting spot was west of here. Waiting for Sojourner at his destination was a rugged, imposing, magnificent castle towering before the backdrop of the cloudy night sky. Even before an abandoned park, it was a remarkable structure. If the roller coasters and the Ferris wheel were loud, intense attractions, this was comparatively quiet and easygoing. It was one of Kitsyland's 3 iconic structures, and in a way, the Wicked Fortress. I'm turning off auto scroll, bro. I can't do this. Alright. It was one of Kitsyland's 3 iconic structures, and in a wicked way, the fortress that guided this paradise down the path of closure. Generally speaking, the amusement park mazes generally fell into one of 2 categories. Labyrinths, which disorient visitors with their sheer size, and mirror houses, which disorient visitors with optical illusions. Many of the labyrinths cast enjoyed the brief sense of adventure that it afforded. Over the years, however, it would be usurped by the ever-increasing thrills of new attractions, such as the way of all trends, the curse of fads. The new must give way to the newer. On the other hand, the House of Mirrors was a time-honored, beloved staple. Even with the confines of a classroom's dimensions, well-placed mirrors and well-directed light could both perplex and delight its visitors. In figuring in the cost of maintenance, a well-designed House of Mirrors could far outlive its labyrinth brethren. Even if both types faded into obscurity, they would remain a staple of what constituted an amusement park. However, that didn't mean that combining them would produce double the fun. Together, they transformed from entertainment into an uncanny realm from which those who dared to step within could never leave. In a similar sense, Kitsy's Mystery Tour Castle was the park's very own. We're going to hell with this one. Indeed, 5% of visitors ended up requesting staff assistance to get out. That's so sad. Modeled after European castles, it was greater than a football field in length, and the interior was further split into 3 floors. 2 floors above ground and 1 below, lined with mirrors from top to bottom. Equal parts complex and vast. The maze demanded at least 30 minutes from even veterans. One visit was all it took to be struck by Huh? I never heard of that phrase before. What's this? How do you even pronounce it too? Oh, because I spelled it wrong. A rare phobia characterized by intense and irrational. Well, I guess that makes sense. All things considered, there's a fear for everything. But what? Goodness, it's a tongue twister for me. Catoptrophobia. There you go. It was a labyrinth that now stood in Sojourner's way.
真っ暗ってわけじゃないな。電気とかついてるんだろうか。
It seemed like Sojourner, unaware of what a House of Mirrors even was, concerned himself only with its styling. He checked his letter from Malko once more. The letter read, "I'll be waiting in the first floor lobby of the House of Mirrors." That meeting place was definitely in here. Oh. Or something to see by at least. There was something to see by at least, as he could just make out light faintly through the open doors. Putting aside his suspicions, he headed toward the entrance. The sound of his steps against the brick-laid path echoed faintly. He was far from the hustle and bustle of the city. The park's clocks no longer made their tick nor talk, and the winter's bite no longer blew in the night. Well, what's with the rhyming there? What? Okay. Whatever. I guess just the pen game go crazy. From within the silence, the stillness that would cause any onlooker to hold their breath. Hello? Hello? Sojiro stopped abruptly at the entrance to the House of Mirrors.
ところで青崎、そんなところで何してるんだ？
He called out, turning back to the plaza. Okay. A sound rang out as if someone had dove behind a garbage can and it fell to the ground in their haste. A short silence ensued. Oh hell no, they got the wind. For a moment, the abandoned park returned to its previous hush. Resigned to her having been exposed, the girl appeared from her hiding place.
Oh,
I don't remember if it was the first time we've seen her in this outfit, but there you go. His voice died in his throat as he took in the sight of the girl's familiar face and unfamiliar attire. This Aoko, with her long hair flowing in the breeze, was different from the Aoko that Sojiro knew. The resolute stance and posture she took exuded the strength of her will. She stared directly at him with sharp-eyed, piercing gaze. Her eyes were glowing with a dim, phosphoric light, enough to give Sojiro pause that he might be hallucinating. An icy coldness in the girl's strength. Sojiro liked the sense of danger, but the sense of imbalance caused even him to feel the malice in the air. It was as though the Yuki Onna spirit of folklore had climbed out from a ghost story and appeared here in reality.
青崎。
Wow, that was a quick panel turn or whatever. Instinctively, Sojiro took a step back. Surprised, he was starting to feel concerned. An unpleasant premonition rose to the surface, bringing with it a sense of anxiety. In spite of this, he felt obliged to honor urban etiquette by seeing if she was alright.
その顔を見るに何かあったのかと一応聞いておくんだけど。
Without acknowledging him, Ako took a step forward. Her figure, his atmosphere, Sojiro found himself recalling a recent memory. My eyes! His twisted and knotted apprehension melted away and was replaced with a growing realization. This girl before him was very similar to the one he had seen before, that night in the park, though he had only seen her from behind. With increasing certainty causing him to swallow nervously, he noted that they might as well have been identical.
何をしていたかって話なら見ての通りよ。ここで獲物が通り過ぎるのを待ってたの。あなたが入ってから私も入って逃げ道をなくすつもりだったから。
Ako said, perturbed by the swift change in
そう
plans.
か。待ち合わせ場所は合ってた。
You're a good you. You're a good you. Don't kill me, brother. Be a good you. Sojiro was mightily relieved he had not gone in the wrong place. It was unclear whether he felt confident about dealing with what was to come, or if he had simply failed to grasp the hopelessness of the situation. Excuse me. I don't even know if I can call her a hunter. Certified bag fumbler right here. Alko ignored his obtuse response and continued.
私はね、しずきくん。嫌いな人とか憎い人とかは人並みにいるんだ。ただ、ちょっと変なのが敵になるやつの条件でね。
Cold emotion burned in her eyes. Her feet had already moved one step closer to Sojiro. Sojiro's sense of foreboding was growing stronger, wondering if what he sensed was bloodlust. He retreated another shot. Oh god. Continuing as so, they maintained a distance of just 15 feet.
昔から私は嫌いな相手でも敵と思ったことはなかったの。
Yeah, like Tobimaru.
でも逆に好きな相手を敵だと思うこともあった。
Yeah, like Atlas.
理由は単純。
She held her right arm out. The light about her was no illusion.
当たり前のことだけど、 私は私の感情を生み出すやつが敵なのよ。
Her arm moved again. It was instantaneous. Something shot past Sojiro in the blink of an eye, missing him by just a foot to his left. This poor goofball. He doesn't know what's about to happen. He doesn't know that he's in a Nasuverse project. Before his eyes, a blue light, something akin to a fireball, had ignited from nothing. He finally understood what was happening. She ignored his dim-witted reaction. Yeah, you suck, Aoko muttered to herself. The fist-sized hole in the blue light had made in the house of mirrors crackled and smoldered. A shot like that could easily cave in. Oh my goodness. And a cave in a human skull in addition to burning it to a goodness. What is that, bro? Gonder? What does she shoot? She would have BM'd her so bad. Sojiro backed away swiftly. Things were beyond incomprehensible. He was close to losing the ability to think at all. All he could make out was the figure of the dependable student council president, or at least what he had thought was the president, and the memories of the park that night 2 days ago. He had never experienced anything like this, though most people living in a civilized country would have never seen anything like it either. Not for real. I never seen this. A lethal weapon that could kill with nothing more than the pull of a finger had a way of suspending the ability of its target to determine between not just good and evil, but dreams and reality, past and future, hope and despair. Ah, that giant beam of light that she shoots out, yeah. It was just that one was so small because she hasn't mastered it yet. Alrighty. And the more peaceful someone's life had been, the stronger that suspension was likely to be. All one could think about was the fact that they were alive at the very moment. It was as if he was an unwritten character on a blank piece of white paper. There was no before, there was no after, and there was only what came next. It was a very common thought process for anyone staring down the barrel of a gun. Man, my man says you'll never beg. By saying it was pointless, she made it sound more like she would not listen to what he had to say. However, Sojiro was in such a state of shock that it did not even enter his mind to speak up. All he knew, for reasons unknown, was that the girl in front of him wanted him dead. What was he gonna tell you? Oh man, this man told me why you're not gonna believe this. Sojiro felt that if he had said that aloud, the second blast would come even quicker than the last, so he kept it to himself. Smart man, quick mind and quicker feet. His mental expletives stirred his mind from paralysis to mere panic. This response came not from consonants, however. Someday, out of the blue, someone is going to kill me. While it may have seemed like a baseless belief to hold, Sojiro, the situation seemed to perfectly align with his inexperienced understanding that the city was a coldly pragmatic place. As far as he was concerned at this moment, being killed by a classmate was not something to be. Poor Sojiro. In a society where murder was possible, he was able to accept this sort of situation as natural. Of virtually no concern was the series of events that led to Aoko's aggression toward him. The only thing that truly confused him was Aoko's blue fireball. Sojiro swallowed with an audible gulp. To anyone who may have been watching, it was the response of a victim paralyzed by fear.
多くは語らないけど、あなたにはここで死んでもらう。魔術は隠匿するものなんて言っても、そっちには関係のないことだし、単に運がなかったって思えばいいわ。大事なのは私があなたを殺したってことだけだから。
Oh, new art. Done talking, Alko once again lifted her right arm. There was a hum like a machine. Blue light began to revolve around her arm beneath her sleeve. This was taking longer than last time, leading Soldier to believe that it was going to be much stronger than an attack that was still scorching the wall behind him. The realization caused his panic to heighten.
いや、なんだ、つまり始末するとかしないとか、あの夜のお化けは青崎だったとか、都会は本当に込み入ってるとか、そういうことじゃなくて。
His thoughts became jumbled. His heart pounded like a hammer. This was no time to be standing still. He was not sure if the girl in front of him was really human. And more importantly, even if he could accept the events unfolding before him, when all was said and done.
待て、人殺しはいけないんだぞ。
New CG as well. Even he's glowing too. It's wrong to kill people. As far as I'm concerned, bro, spitting. Even if it was a fact of life in the city, Soldier was not about to lie down and die. Soldier's scheme, still entirely oblivious, was just the thing. Yo, this dude Soldier, it's wrong to kill people. Man, what a legend. What a legend. Exactly, like he died in the same room he was killed in. Oh man. Sojourner's scream, still entirely oblivious, was just the thing to evoke Alko's full wrath. Oh, what the heck? Alko fired a barrage of magical blue bullets. In an instant, Sojourner dashed to the shadows behind him, into the entrance to the House of Mirrors. Bro said he was good at running. I know he's gonna put it to the test now. He's a runner, he's a track star. He darted feverishly down the hall. After a mere few feet, he was completely left out of breath. This was due to his shock at seeing yet another attack, fiercer than the first, that he had never seen in his life, and because he couldn't shake the thought that if he had moved even a second later, he would be— that's a long sentence, good lord. Nah, I'm not much better, but still. He could not afford to stop. The sound of merciless footsteps closed in behind him. He threw everything into his legs as he sprinted. A straight, narrow passage about 60 feet long connected the entrance to the main lobby. At this rate, if he could just make it to the lobby, he was sure he'd be able to find as many hiding spots as he needed. He arrived in a large, open space. This was the first floor lobby. There were 3 passageways. One led to the basement floor, while connected to the first floor maze. The other was a set of stairs leading to the second floor. Soldier did not particularly care which one he chose, so, trusting his intuition, he made a run for the first floor maze, when— it's the mirror maze. He smacked his head into a transparent wall.
ええ、面倒だけど、それならフェアでしょ。追いかける方にも逃げる方にも有利不利がある。
A somehow cheerful voice echoed in his— how cheerful? She's a freak. There was no need for Soldier to even turn around. In the very same mirror he had crashed into, he could see Alko Ozaki's figure slowly approaching. Oh, there she is.
結界じゃなくて物理的に。やりすぎて封鎖っていうより瓦礫？土砂崩れ？どっちでもいっか。とにかく下手に出口に近づくと崩落に巻き込まれるから。
Panicked by the impending footsteps, Soldier groped for the wall. He could see the stairs to the second floor. He did not understand what Alko had meant earlier, but he at least knew that the first floor was not going to save him.
ま、私としてはそっちのが助かるけど。形式上、 事故死の方が後始末とか楽だから。
Sick woman. Sick woman. Ah, no wonder. Thanks, so she really is enjoying this. Crazy. I forgot about that. The hunter, huh? The wolf. The lion, quote unquote. Man, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. You don't even... You're not even... You haven't even met Shiki yet, bro. Haven't even met Shiki yet. Behind him was a creature beyond words. As she continued her idle taunting, she lifted her right arm ostentatiously. Even from above her clothes, one could see some kind of strange and... Game, please. There's only so many words I know. How do you spell this? Incongruous. I mean, like, I can... How do you say it?
Incongruous.
Incongruous, okay. Not in harmony or keeping with the surroundings. Oh, so it's dissimilar to everything else. Alright. Alright, let's see. Even from above her clothes, one could see some kind of strange, incongruous pattern upon her body. The veins beneath her skin. They made it seem as though something inhuman was circulating her body. Whether out of pity or repulsion, Sojiro stopped for just a moment. His pursuer evaded his gaze.
ああ、これ普段は塗り薬で隠しているんだけど、今日は特別。魔術刻印って言ってね、魔術師の証みたいなものよ。ほら、光が回ってるでしょ。これがさっきのスナップ。わかりやすく言うと弾丸の元。今日は調子いいし、私魔力を効率よく使うのだけは自信あるし。あと30回ぐらいかな。さっきみたいな奏者ができるのは。
Perhaps she was on an emotional high, for her voice had become frightfully friendly. The substance of the conversation could not have been any more unsettling, however. Poor guy. There's sadness in those eyes. Poor guy.
そもそも
Never mind, they're
何を言
gone.
っているかよくわからないんだけど
Yeah, completely gone.
わからない。段数はあと30発ってこと。そこまで逃げ切ればあなたの勝ちよ。とりあえず今日のところはね。
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to go back to school.
今日はって明日もあるのかな
Oh no. Sojiro, what's going on, man? What's happening? What's happening? Sojiro knit his brows. Aku's expression creased into a scowl at his behavior. Although he was panicking, it seemed that deep down he still did not feel the full weight of the crisis. She knew he still didn't get it.
宣言はしたわ。自由時間はこれでおしまい。
Oh my gosh, man.
まだ罵り足りないだろうけど、ま、その手の時間はキリがないしね。この辺りで諦めて。
It appeared Akko had prepared this theatrical dialogue ahead. Of course she did. Not to allow her opponent time for futile pleading, but to give him the time to curse her, his killer. Such forthrightness was her modus operandi. With this victim, however, it was not going as she had hoped. Yeah, I wonder
何か
why.
そういうことだ。じゃ、狩りの時間と行きましょうか。
No, there's the hunt. Yeah, it's the hunt you mentioned. Her voice was void of emotion, and her eyes ruthless as they bored into her prey. This time, Sojiro finally accepted that he was going to die. Ooh. Silent as the dead, it stepped into the remnants of a dream that had long since seen no visitors. There was no wind in this night, not a soul to be seen. Nor a soul to be seen. Still, bling, bling, bling. Hilarious. Still, it heard the echoes from within, clasped his hands together, and grinned. Its form with hands clasped resembled that of a budding tulip. The bearing of this artificial flower, reflected in the cloudy mirror of the ticket attendant's office next to the gate. Next to it stood a display board, corroded by years upon years of rust. And is that her? I can't tell. Number of visitors today. 2. Number of today. The board had graffiti crudely scrawled atop of one of the words. It was a place with deaths. The records board had long ago fallen to disrepair. After taking a full 10 seconds to digest what it was looking at, it made its own revision. Number of visitors today. 3. Number of deaths today. 1. After appending this number with an index finger, she smiled like a flower. She began to walk toward the source of the sound. Okay, this is where things start going crazy. It had been 10 minutes since this rhapsody had begun to echo from the House of Mirrors. The amusement park's entrance returned to as it was before, soulless. In the end, even if Sojiro had been the luckiest man alive, there was no way he should have been able to escape. The question, however, was how much of this was by design, and how much was sheer coincidence. Even Alko, who had made all the arrangement, had no answer. Indeed, there was only 3 things she could say. It was taking longer than expected. He was putting up more resistance than she had anticipated, and that choosing the House of Mirrors had been a mistake. She had been really... It's a horrible phrase. I forgot that's a real thing. She had really screwed the pooch on this one. That's disgusting, bro. The location itself was an excellent choice, as the House of Mirrors was perfect as a hunting ground. But seeing her own incompetence reflected in the mirrors was beginning to grate on her. Poor Sojiro. The moment Alko's right arm began to glow, Sojiro made a beeline for the staircase in front of him. A strobing series of blue flashes lit the room behind him. The hunter calmly followed her prey, and the prey desperately ran for his life up the stairs.
注文通り。そうでなくっちゃお膳立てした甲斐がない。
In stark contrast to Sojiro's frenzied escape, Alko washed briskly up the stairs. Shoot. Yeah, actually, that's true, because the movie, it'll be equally as funny and sad. She elected not to run after her prey in order to maintain a set distance. She would probably even just sad. They'll probably just really ham it in. Actually, I don't know, something to think about actually. She lacked confidence in her accuracy. She would be the most challenged if Sojiro bull rushed her and went down fighting. But at a distance of 30 or so feet, he posed no threat. By the time her prey drew near, she could fire 10 shots and hit at least 4 of them. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. I wonder if they're gonna use music from the game too. That'd be kind of fun. Their positioning just a moment ago hadn't been ideal. At this distance, in a space this open, there was a chance, however small, that it could turn into a fist fight if he just start swinging on her. If he flanked and charged her. Currently, Alko's best weapon was the blows from her right arm. If he was going to capitalize on that advantage, it was in her best interest not to close the gap between them. If there was a good time to approach, it was only after her prey had become exhausted and had lost the will to continue. Would she pierce his leg, shoot him in the back, or perhaps would he just give up after losing himself in the labyrinth? The hunt would end when her target sustained some sort of injury and became unable to run. On Sojiro's end, he could barely bite back on screaming as he bolted through the maze. Even running in a straight line had become difficult. much less searching for an exit. Ah, ooh. Oh, I know the feeling so bad because I've done that before. Oh, that's so annoying. The corridor stretched out far before him, or so the mirrors blocking the path had made it seem. Panicked, he made a turn to the right. Ah, poor Sojiro. Oh my gosh. Clutching his head in his right arm, Sojiro led with his left, groping the air to feel whether a wall was there or not. He dove down the hall to the left, narrowly dodging the bullets targeting his life. Urged on by the sound of approaching footsteps, he ran without thinking. The last one was close. A hair closer would have meant his life. He caught the odor of burnt hair from the back. Oh shoot. He was very lucky. Or perhaps very unlucky. If he was actually lucky, he would have not been in the situation in the first place. The second floor of the House of Mirrors was structured like a giant spiral. It wound left, starting from the outside wall. Eventually, it would lead to a dead end. The more he tried to escape, the more cornered he would become, as he were trapped in a twisted guillotine. His stifled screams threatened to leak out as complaints. No matter what he did, he was going to be killed. All of his struggling made it serve as, to prolong the inevitable. Golly, I'm thirsty. Oh man, I don't know how people do it. How long have I been going for? Hour and 40. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not done, but like, man, it's gonna be a while. I think it's might be like a 2.5 to 3 hour stream, who knows? Luckily I started early tonight, so at least I have that luxury, but still, that's crazy. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me just drink water real quick.
Alright, so Jimmy Butler.
Shut up. There you go. Yeah, I know, it's gonna be super long. But I guess this is what I signed up for when I willingly went on to chapter 5. There you go. Alright. 4 to 5. Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm definitely not gonna finish it tonight then. But at the very least, I'll try to get decently far into it, so I'll try to find a good stopping point later on, but for right now, I'm feeling good, so probably just gonna continue. Alright, no matter what he did, he was going to be killed. All of his struggling merely served to prolong the inevitable. Oh, wait, alright, then I'll probably just stop there or something. Yet he ran. No matter how many mirrored walls he ran himself into, he ran. Even after crashing so hard that his forehead bled and he saw stars, he ran. Probably concussed, honestly. Pain shot through him at every turn. The more frantically he ran, the more intensely he smashed in the invisible walls. His body began to understand his rule and begged him not to run anymore. Okay. Well then shoot, maybe that's I'll probably stop there then, if anything. Shoot, hopefully that'll at least bring me to the 2-hour mark, but if not, then it is what it is. At least I got a stream in. His breath was already ragged after spinning a couple 100 feet. No matter how he thought about it, this was not normal. This was way too crazy. This is all just a bad joke. If he turned around now, she would apologize to him for taking it too far. His mind had gone blank as his body continued to slam into mirrors once again and again. His feet slowed as they began to believe that perhaps it really was all a joke. But then he felt it show. A touch of death upon his neck. It would not be an exaggeration to say that Sojo knew this kind of terrible chill far too well. Ever since he had arrived in the city, he had come face to face with more than one or two near-death experiences. With someone who did not understand the city life, his present predicament was not unlike when he experienced the traffic on the streets or the commuter rush on on a station platform. He was far from an innocent babe, unable to comprehend life or fear. Rather, everything he had ever known became irrelevant when he was flung into a completely different cultural sphere. Even society's promises of safety, something urbanites took for granted, were threats unknown. So he was, dang, yeah, so never mind, we're definitely gonna reach the 2 hour mark then. Huh. Oh well, not like I'm complaining. So he was used to this already. Though if he were to be honest, he was dissatisfied with some things. Things superfluous to necessity. This world was overflowing with valueless things, and they were all dangerous in some way. Even the everyday necessities sold at convenience stores were, as far as he was concerned, amazing tools. Civilization had raised the standard of living so high that it had numbed humanity's sense of danger. The city's constant pursuit of wealth and convenience was a poison to a country boy like Sojiro. He did not have the capacity to accept these conveniences. Sham Sharadia. Oh man. And that it was possible for such conveniences to easily and suddenly be misused and cause unintended accidents had always made him anxious. Why? He had to wonder why he was even here. Ah, how ironic. It took the real threat of death to finally make him realize, like a divine revelation, what he had failed to understand until now. He'd always had to expect the unexpected. Near-death experiences were more common than one might think. To begin with, safety was something that came at a price. Being alive meant that the opposite was always lurking around the corner. It was just like the streetlight at night. When the sun rose, its illumination would naturally disappear. Another barrage of strange projectiles whizzed mercilessly by him. He recalled in the back of his mind the charred remains of someone at the hands of that blue flame 2 nights prior. I wonder if somebody counted, or if, better yet, the people who wrote this counted how many shots she's fired up to this point. Because I imagine she's only shooting one every time she shoots. So I wonder how many shots she's at now, considering that she shot 2 of them. Or better yet, actually, is she only shooting 1? Because this is 2, but like the last one was 1, but who knows? Somehow this situation reminded him of a horse being led by a dangling carrot. For now he lifted his head and continued to run through the labyrinth. But for what purpose? Though he knew the pain in his chest was very real, he felt disconnected from it. The night sky visible through the skylight was a muddy ultramarine, no longer resembling the one he knew. And he managed to calm himself. Ah, that's true. So it's not even accurate. Dang, so the CG that I saw was probably only just 1. Soldier began to laugh in despair, as though something rather precious had been broken. Everything had become meaningless anyway. Even so, his legs somehow made their way forward at the sight of her reflection in the mirror. Like a game of cat and mouse, Sojiro fled the labyrinth of mirrors. Then after 4 minutes, that strangely unreal tension ended. Look at this, man. He's running. Oh. There you go. Alright, the game just told me. The ninth shot of blue light hit inches away from him. It exploded the moment it made impact, launching Sojiro into the opposite wall. Of all the fire he had taken thus far, this shot indisputably brought him the closest to death. Oof, goodness. Groaning, he collapsed to the floor. His back was on fire with pain. He was now bleeding and was lucky he could still even scream. Yet his body refused to move. Physically and mentally, he still had something to spare. The pain was not so bad that he couldn't get back up. It was just that there was a skylight above him, and he could glimpse the dark of the night sky beyond. The feeling that overcame him was raw, selfish bout of greed. A raw, selfish bout of greed. Oh, it was just so cruel. To have to stare at that for the remainder of whatever short life he had left. Sojo's ragged breath slowed. For all intents and purposes, he had given up. He had given up fleeing from the pursuing footsteps, and perhaps even the root of all his problems.
まあ、青崎に殺されるならいいかな。
Sojiro Suzuki felt things that, in any other circumstance, he would never feel. Incidentally, without exaggeration or embellishment, this was the only mistake he had ever made in his entire life. Staring vacantly into the night sky above, Sojiro listened as the footsteps drew nearer.
Give up?
It was the closest her voice had ever been to him. Perhaps feeling that he had really given up, she approached his collapsed form. In a dark mirror-lined corridor, he could not make out her expression. Without a word, Sojiro raised his eyes to meet his murderer.
返事がないならそれでいいけど。調子狂うわ。普通どうして殺そうとするのかぐらい聞くものじゃない？
Akko spoke from within the shadows. His eyes widened in bewilderment. Now that she had mentioned it, he realized that would have been the obvious question. He didn't even think to ask it, of course. He had more or less picked up on the fact that he was being killed for learning some secret, but it was human nature to want to know more.
そっか。それはそうなるな。
A simple affirmation. His face was a mixture of resignation and a forlorn longing. He thought for a moment before.
でも言う必要はない。
Yeah, genuinely. But considering the little that I know about him, it makes sense. But you don't have to say, oh, yeah, you're
聞き
right
た
there.
くないんだ。そういうのは。
Cold. He responded in a mature, subdued voice. His response was clear, rather gallantly so. He's so cool.
そう。じゃ、殺すけど。死ぬの怖くないの？
怖いに決まってる。何より痛そうだ。
His face turned wry as he ejected, to which Alko frowned. As nonchalant as he could be, he was honest about his feelings.
そりゃ怖いでしょ。私だって怖いと思うし。でも悪いわね。我慢して。人でなしと罵ってくれて結構よ。そういった意味じゃあんた。
Gosh, hold on.
人でなしと罵ってくれて結構よ。今の私は本当にその通りだから。そういった意味じゃあんたと同じ。普通の道徳がないのよ。だから必要なら人も殺せる。
There you go. All right. Sojo's finger twitched in response to her indifferent tone, as if to say that, despite having given up on just about everything. I know, right? To justify, like, yeah, I'm not okay for doing this. It's crazy. And Sojo's not gonna give her one bit. As if to say that despite having given up on just about everything, his body could not let those words slide.
人殺しなんて良くないぞ。
He said it. He said the thing. Murder's wrong. Hold on. Dang, I forgot. Alright, whatever. Try to take a screenshot and it sends me all the way back. Ooh.
そう。じゃ、そう。 じゃ、
怖いに決まっ
Yep, 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 keep,
そう、
yep,
でも悪い
yep.
人でな、 そういった意味じゃあん
Yep, blase, blah, 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 blah. Oh,
人殺しなんて
there you go.
Yo,
Murder's
can I-
raw. Yep. Spit it, bro. Spit it to your mouth is raw.
分かってるって言ってるでしょ。
Alko raised her right hand. The light from the crest illuminated her face. It goes without saying that her expression was unchanged. She was not crying, nor was she smiling. She was a young woman who had excised her feelings. Deal with it was another thing Sojo could not let slide. I'm not gonna let it slide. Sojo could read on Alko's face that she was not herself. She was in pain, and to a degree he had never seen in her.
すまない。ちょっといいかな。
何？ここまで悲壮感を盛り上げておいて、やっぱり逃げるなんてのは却下
Yeah,
よ。
because she already does. He unconsciously smiled at Alko's ruthless counter and breathed a sigh of relief. He had misread the pain he saw in her face. This is the same Alko. Dang, that's... that hurts. That one hurts. Hurts a lot, actually. Sojo laughed out. Sojo laughed out loud in genuine joy. A laugh that most other people would have taken as an insult.
遺言でも聞いてあげようと思った私が甘かった。
Or didn't even say anything. Like, you just...
っていうか、今の小バカにした笑いがあんたの遺言ってことで OK？
いや、そうじゃなくて、あそこにいる人は青崎の友人なのか？
Out of nowhere, Sojo pointed behind Alko.
はあ？
Oh no. Alko thought it must have been that old overused distraction technique. This had been a Japanese comedy act. This would be the part where she gave him a whack with a paper fan. But after giving it a second thought, she realized Sojo didn't have the capacity for understanding old or even new tricks.
あんた何言って？
Perhaps his honest disposition had been to his benefit. Without thinking, Alko gave it to her curiosity and turned her gaze to the direction in which his finger was pointed. And there, something that should not have been there in the maze. Something with a creaking, wooden smile. It was the ominous, creepy, uncanny figure of a girl.
人形？
Oh man, that would have worked on the fact that worked on her, bro. Oh man, that's funny. An unusual figure with 2 arms and 2 legs stood silently in the darkness. If only for a moment, its beauty, which was even apparent from afar, dulled the insanity of the current situation. Extend, extend, extend. The utterly unknown threat made Alko freeze on the spot. Avoiding it didn't even occur to her. Humans possess intelligence and knowledge. When confronted with the unknown, they fail to process what to do. And that is fair. Oh my goodness, she got fried. She got fried. A shriek escaped Alko's mouth. The magical attack crossed a 30-foot gap in an instant. The arm of the girl, who had appeared at the rear of the corridor, was slender and quick. It extended to a near impossible length, striking Alko from behind. Alko crashed into the wall as she fought back in anguished whimper. The attacker retracted her arm. Sojo sprang to his feet. He darted to her side and used all the strength he could muster to get her up to her feet. He could not believe how light she was. In Sojo's mind, Alko was an extraordinary individual. He expected that if he were to ever touch her, it would be apparent she was far stronger than he. But in reality, he felt about as heavy as you would expect a 100-pound... Wow. Yeah, no, that's super light. Oh. Really? Huh. Let me see. Where is it? No, not there. No, not there. Not there either. Ah. Dang. Wow, that's crazy. That's just Alco. Gondor is just Alco getting cooked. That's so funny. But in reality, she felt. Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, that thing continued to reel in its arm, as if it was some sort of mechanism. Having extended more than 30 feet from the elbow joint, it clanked as it returned to its previous shape and size.
大丈夫か？
やめてよ。わからないわ。なんでそんな顔できるの？
Alco tore her hand away from Sojiro's. Suddenly, she felt her knees buckle from under her. But Sojiro caught her before she could hit the ground and helped her to her feet.
無理するな。で、あいつは知り合いか？
He looked back at the eerie shadow 30 feet away as it finished retracting its arm.
そうね。似たようなやつとは命をせめぎ合ったのかよ。
Alco grabbed her lower back as she answered. A searing pain shot through her.
でも、痛いっちゃ痛いけど、打撲だけ？あれだけ絶好の奇襲をしておいて、それともこの距離じゃ当たっても致命傷にならない？なんてあるわけないか。何か別の意味があると見るべきね。
Aqua tried to steady her breathing as she assessed the damage done to her back. The pain was quick to fade and her breathing returned to normal. For the time being, her motor functions were no longer hindered, which meant the real damage was elsewhere.
青崎、あれ。
分かってるわ。黙ってて。
Blue light glowed across the room. The magical energy generated by her breathing was accumulating in her right arm. The magical energy was the fuel. The formula was the igniter. For Alco, this was little more than a reenactment of 2 evenings ago. Next time the puppet extended its arm, Alco would fire a magical bullet as fast as she could. A battle at approximately 30 feet. A battle at approximately 30 feet. As long as Alco could secure a 2-second window, she could create a counterattack to end their duel. It made smooth. With its head tilted down, there was no expression to be seen, and in the darkness, its apparent age was impossible to make out. To the 2 humans, the puppet was not dissimilar to a faceless ghost. Its left arm slowly came up with a grinding sound. Its movements were dull. As if the joints were rusty. The right arm, which had been extended earlier, hung at its side. Though the puppet's mouth was hidden by its long locks, the sense was that it was smiling.
さっきと用途が違う。あれが本命。しずきくん、どいて。
She threw herself into Sojiro and extended her hand. Its arm extended at the very moment. The timing was impeccable. In a single second, Akko's snap bullet scored a direct hit on the puppet's arm, throwing it off its trajectory and sending it crashing into the puppet's body with a violent explosion. Or at least, that's what would have happened had the magic formula been invoked. She barely avoided being struck once again. When her magecraft failed her, intuition took over. She just managed to get away.
やられた。最初のはそういうことか。
She clenched her teeth in frustration, her thoughts racing a mile a minute. Fight or flight. It only had 1 arm left, which it would take time to retract. This was the best shot Akko had at defeating it. If she could evade the right arm just a fraction, she could get close enough to... Okay, we just have Latin here. Alright. In slumber I live, in dirt I rot alone. Today is the day I died. It was born. I come to you. A crackle echoed through the corridor. The poetic murmurs continued enough magical, contained enough magical energy for a mage to. Oh man, I'm so illiterate. the the poetic murmurs contained enough magical energy for a mage to perceive. The verse itself was Latin, but it contained hints of a language of curses. Gonder. Oh shoot. It's Gonder, bro. It's Gonder. Oh my gosh. It's Gonder. Originally, they were words meant to curse a hated adversary. However, alright. Excuse me. My life is immortal, though my future was destroyed. I am a ghost. The definition of life is ethereal. I hate you. I love you. Let us meet in a dream. Exactly. Gonder. The puppet was directing the words at itself. Curses beget curses. The victim calls down a curse on the assailant, creating a vicious cycle of negativity. The incantation was meant to do just that. However, this is ultimately a one puppet show, an unprecedented source of power akin to auto-intoxication. As unbelievable as it seemed, the cycle of curses had been turned into a perpetual motion device. Alright, let me put this down. Akko abandoned the idea of digging her heels in. It was the time to flee with all due haste. Yo, it's funny. She was just talking about like, oh, how can you help me like this or whatever. And then the next one, she's like, bro, what are you doing? Get over here. Of course she is. She grabbed Sojiro's hand as fast as she could, deeper into the realm of mirrors. It's just Akko Ozaki for you. How do I describe this? She's an oddball. I guess that's all I could say. The crackling voice continued its murmuring behind them.
Omnes nos peccantes fuimus, et omnes nos edem fuimus, omnes nos peccatores sumus. Venite domum meum, lut simil sum neum, et pulvere simile quotidianum, corruprebum.
My neighbors neglected me, not an innocent among us. We are all sinners. We are all sinners. Welcome to my house. May we die a muddy death. From dust to dust, gouge out my heart. Oh, wow, they reversed it. Death be upon you. May the pox be upon you. I forgot to change the thumbnail. Wow, I'm crazy. Okay, let me do that right now, actually. Let me pick a good thumbnail too. Can't do it on YouTube, so do it here. Here. Edit. Never mind, I can't edit you. Go here. Live. I gotta do it on my computer. Whack. Bro, just speaking Gonder is crazy. Akko fought against the pain in her back as she ran through the mirror court. This soundbite is so annoying. She dragged Sojiro by the hand.
青崎、傷は
別に背骨がしびれてる程度よ。内臓は平気だし、出血もないみたい。
She cursed inwardly at how much of a mess she felt, though. Unlike Sojiro, Akko did not run into any transparent. Man, stop BMing him. Thanks not to superior sight, but rather preparation, she'd hammered the layout of the building into her memory.
平気ってわかるのか
そりゃ自分の体だもの。身体管理は基礎中の基礎よ。
Akko's matter-of-fact answer contrasted with Sojiro's nervous questioning. The corridor grew shorter with each and every left turn. At first, they were able to advance in a straight line for about 100 feet at a time, but by now, they were forced to turn a corner every 50 feet. Damn, this mirror maze is long.
同じタイプだと思う。貴重なオートマタを惜しげもなく使い捨てるなんてよっぽどお金持ちなんだろうけど。
Sojiro furrowed his brows. He was grateful that she was answering his questions, but baffled by the strange words she was using.
青崎ストップ。もう随分走ったぞ。あいつは曲がり角一つ分向こうだ。少し休もう。
Okay, that makes sense. 3 floors. His words suggested that he was still concerned about her injuries. Ako shook her head in irritation.
あの距離を狙ってくる相手に通路一つ分のリードは無意味よ。せめて二つ分に行くまで走るの。
Sojiro nodded. With that matter settled, he
なん
asked.
で俺を連れて行ってるんだ？
逃げられたくないからじゃない、バカ。
Yes, of course, because that's, yeah, the hunter. Answering curtly, Ako glared at her naive prey. He generally can't believe. She grabbed him by the hand and told her, "Come on, what are you doing?" And then tells him this so you wouldn't get away. Brother, who cares? The doll could have killed him. But whatever, she's a teenager. The two of them headed for the next corner. Their legs began to slow as they ran in one more. Ako rubbed her back as she tried to catch her breath. The uncle had insisted that she was fine. It appeared to have been bravado. Even the usually clueless Sojiro felt the desperation they were in. He stood behind Ako with his arms folded. While they had a moment, he tried to make sense of everything. First, Ako had nearly killed him. Yes, that's true. Though he was saved at the last possible second, it was by the strange, stretchy woman Ako had. Shoot, to be fair, that doll does not know about the Sono aura, the Suzuki aura farming. She's about learning in a second though. Though he was saved at the last possible second, it was by the strange, stretchy woman Aqua had burned to ashes 2 nights prior. He could barely make it out that night, but he considered it as her because it looked female. The woman's attack wounded Ako's back and forced her to flee. Ako had taken Sojiro with her, claiming that the reason she did so was to prevent her prey from escaping. In other words,
青崎はまだ諦めてないんだな。
当たり前よ。あんなやつ、仮に2体と半分始末しても、あんた用の余力は残せるわ。
Are you saying that he stacks more paper and gets more women than you? Absolutely. Her tone was sharp, and even Sojiro could see that she was struggling to stay confident. The damage to her body was too much to afford her any optimism. Still, the fury in her eyes refused to accept her circumstances.
中がところどころショートしてる。あの右腕は回路を混戦させるジャミングってわけね。
Though the proper response would have been for her to tremble in fear, she did nothing but shake her fists in anger. The disruption of formulae was only supposed to work on absolute beginners. If it had been her roommate, the arm would have been repelled the instant it hit her, and the attacker's circuits burned out rather than her own. Attempting to establish a link to the magic circuits of another mage was like presenting your heart on a silver platter. It would be no use in a battle against a superior mage. And yet, her adversary had been designed to do just that. Coupled with the attacks on areas of Misaki under Ako's jurisdiction these last few weeks, it was a clear statement from the enemy, who had revealed herself as a fellow mage 2 days ago. In other words, the puppet saw Ako as no threat at all.
敵ながら正確な判断だこと。
Oh. While she was still angry, the whirlwind of emotions within her started to fade. Her face was that of a hunter far beyond her years.
なんか俺の時より真剣だな。
まあね、あんたの時は遊びが入ってたし。
Sojiro was not sure whether to be happy or sad at that.
わからないことだらけで何を聞いていいかわからないんだけど、一つだけいいか。
Haku didn't respond. Her eyes were focused on the darkness before them. Silence was heavy, but the darkness was like a noose closing in on them. Soju continued in spite of her indifference.
青崎はあいつも殺すのか？
A stillness fell over them. It was as if the gloom was pulling them in. No response. Their breathing was the only sound echoing in the dim corridor. There stood Sojiro, forcing her to confront her sins, and a magician girl who continued to ignore him. They spent a few seconds, seemingly frozen in time.
そう。それがあなたのキーワードみたいね。
Akko had whispered in a lifeless tone. Her sigh was tinged with both resignation and contempt.
何？
独り言よ、忘れて。それと言っとくけど、あいつは人間じゃないわ。信じられないだろうけど、自分の意志で動く人形なの。この前のも今のやつもね。
Sojiro nodded as he processed the information. Not only did he not doubt her story, but he seemed to have accepted it at face value.
なんか落ち着いてるわね、あなた。
まさかもう何が何だかわからないからあまり考えないことにしてるだけだ。
Hell yeah.
ただ人形に関しては別にどうということはない。
もしかして他でも自動人形を見たことあるとか？
都会の人形ってああいうものじゃないのか？
Yeah, that's funny. All things considered, that when I first was getting into Fate, I think I realized why does Rin and this random girl look so similar? Isn't let me see if I can show it on stream. I think I might have to. Let me see. Bob, is it showing? Nah, it's not showing. Oh well, whatever. Shiki, Ryogi Shiki, yeah. Okay, so she has black hair. Okay, no. Who is it then? No. Huh, I guess it is just them. Oh, they also have blue eyes? Huh. Oh, well, hey. Yeah, because Aki's hair is blue as well. The man loves his brunettes, his redheads, and his blondes. Actually, wait, is this... Nah, it wouldn't work. That's funny, though. Alright. that man Nasu definitely has a type. Oh wait, did it?
もしかして他で？
都会の人形ってああいうものじゃないのか？
Okay, that's what he said. She barely stopped herself from falling to her knees. Of course, how could she have forgotten? She was dealing with a bona fide natural born. Hey, don't be so mean to him. As a student who transferred from the isolation of the mountains like an endangered species, his utter lack of common sense rendering anything miraculous as mundane. If automobiles were moving hunks of metal, the moving puppets were nothing to write home about. Wait, that meant to him the incident from the other night hadn't been extraordinary at all. Might even assumed it was an everyday occurrence in the city.
参った。いっぺん頭の中覗いてみたいっていうか、ほんとここまで来ると感心するわ。調子が狂うのも当然だった。普通は私に襲われた時点でもっと違う反応をするはずなのに。化け物とかお化けとかさ。でもあなたにとってはそういうこともあるで済まされてたわけなんだ。なんかバカみたいね、私。
Her strained face returned to normal for a moment. It hit her. There had been another way to handle this without anyone getting hurt, but the damage had already been done. There were no do-overs in life, nor should there be. Her own mistaken assumptions had sent the situation spiraling out of control. Now that Sojiro was involved, she had to make sure that her secret was safe with him. Even if there had been another, better option, that ship has sailed. Human relationships were ultimately driven by mutual misunderstandings. They are like tapestries, woven from mismatched intentions. Alrighty. Break time was over. There stood Aoko Aozaki and Sojiro Suzuki. Their first ever idle conversation had come to an end. Not that they had a choice in the matter. It was the jarring murmuring from around the corner that cut it short.
Nemo nus meminit, vedroit extinct est. Initio eraberamos dom redimus dolores sunt. Nemo adiuva.
Okay. Nobody remembers my funeral. My mourners have long since perished. We were born wrong. Life is suffering. Somebody save me. The enemy was just around the corner, visible in the mirrors parallel to it.
悠長に話してる場合じゃないわね。とにかく今は距離を。
In contrast to Ako's elegant blues, its light was a malicious red. A malicious red. Oh, yeah, Gondor. There was a momentary flash of light before she even extended her arm. But the instant she saw the enemy, her dormant feelings erupted once more.
さっきから邪魔なのよ。
She channeled all of her pent-up anger and shunted it into her arm. The fog that filled the corridor was no magical weaving, but rather a barrier of raw energy. It was equivalent to setting ablaze 3 buckets of gasoline to create a wall of fire, in hope that it would stop an arrow in flight. The puppet had attacked with its arm. It could pierce such a wall easily. Because it had loose curses but no definite form, the wall of energy repelled the attack. While it was a huge waste of magical energy, it was the only means Ako had to protect herself at the very moment. Unfortunately, its protection was reserved for Ako alone. Sojiro held his hand to his mouth. While the curse had been weakened to where Aoko could no longer feel it, it had plenty of effect on Sojiro, who was not a mage. As if it understood this fact, this puppet turned his gaze from Aoko to the unanticipated human behind her. Enraged, she swung her arm forward once again. The blue light formed a wall to block the Gondor for a scant few seconds. It was enough for an opening to exploit. Just as Ako was forming the wall, the puppet pointed its right arm at her face. And really short. Before the rocket of death could be fired, Sojiro scooped her up into his arms. How he mustered the strength to do so was a mystery, but he turned his back to the puppet and took off running. He was a nimble sprinter, resembling a deer leaping across obstacles. Sojiro rounded 2 more corners, ignoring whatever complaints Aoko was making, and eventually stopped in the middle of the 2nd floor. He set her down. Sojiro's shoulders heaved as he caught his breath. As light as she was, running while carrying somebody else would make anyone wounded. She looked up at him in incomprehension. It made no sense to her. If he had the stamina to pick her up and run, surely he could have stood up and escaped when he had her downed earlier. His words were unfiltered as ever. Though right then, fighting for their lives, He likes some of his visual absent-mindedness.
諦めてたって。
さあ、忘れた、そんなことは。
Though he may have turned away because he regretted saying it aloud, his words spoke volumes. For some reason, it pained Aoko to see him like that.
それより青崎、唐突に気分が悪いんだが、あの赤い光も、その。
ええ、魔術の類よ。岩洞打ちって言ってね。北欧の呪詛の一つ。魔術回路のある私には効かないけど。
Yeah, legit. You gapped me, so I lost.
なんだ、青崎には効かないのか。じゃあ、危ないのはあの腕だけだな。
Ako had no idea why he was so relieved, but she gritted her teeth and fought down the urge to snap at him. There was no use in yelling at a time like this. Above all, she felt that it would have been petty in the extreme to voice her annoyance right now. To be fair, she would have jumped him, but the fact that she didn't because it failed, you know, still ran the fade. You gotta respect some of it, not all of it, but some of it.
そうね。注意するのは伸ばしてくる腕だけ。大した相手じゃないわ、やっぱり。
This time it was not false bravado. Such an enemy would normally be a breeze for Aoko Ozaki, but her shameful negligence had led to the disruption of her magical circuits, making her even less formidable than her enemy. At this point, Aoko had no way of attacking. Only option left to her was to wait for it to expend all of its magical energy, but its perpetual curse mechanism made that a non-starter. This game attack would not end until one of them was dead. She realized that she was in the same position she had cornered Sojo in earlier. She glanced at her right arm. She could not imagine how she had gotten into such a mess with her magical energy at more than half of its capacity. It had to be karma for having enjoyed toying with Sojo earlier.
呆れた。いるところにはいるものね。
She grumbled under her breath as she shifted focus. She had the fuel for the fire, but not the igniter. And that killing machine would chase her into the end of time if need be. What she should do next was blindingly clear. She had to get back to normal.
ごめん、考え事してた。確か。よし、合ってる。しずきくん、そこに横道あるのわかる？
Alco pointed, but he could see nothing but the walls of the corridor. For one thing, the floor had nothing but left turns. Alco was pointing to the right.
2階は中心まで行くと1階に降りる階段があるんだけど、それは私が壊したから使えないの。けど、ここの作りも意地が悪くてね。よく見れば、右に曲がる通路もあるのよ。上級者だけにわかる抜け道ってやつ。あとは注意して探せば、1階の階段までショートカットできる。悪いけど、一人で行って。
Aqua turned her back to Sojo and started walking in the opposite direction of the escape route and down the long corridor toward the puppet in pursuit.
あいつは無差別だから、ここで壊さないといけない。魔術師は魔術師同士で争うのはいいんだけど、ミラリンの一般人に手を出しちゃいけないって決まりがあるの。あいつの目的は私のわけだし、結果がどうあれ、すっきりするでしょ。
If Alco won, the puppet would be destroyed. If Alco lost, its objective would be complete and it would shut down. Either way, them getting their separate ways would mean Sojo survived. That's what Alco meant. Though she explained it as if the events were happening to two totally different people.
運が良ければ入り口までたどり着けるわ。それじゃあ、また明日ね。
Even Sojo could tell she was just trying to act tough. But she had already disappeared around a corner by the time he thought to stop her. Mentally, Alco bemoaned the disaster she was in. The quality of this puppet was on a completely different level compared to the one from the park 2 days ago. An auto-incanting perpetual mission. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. My tongue is feeling really weird. It keeps rubbing up against my teeth. I don't know why. I think it's because I ate pizza earlier. Probably cut up my tongue a little bit. But, yeah, anyways. But this puppet was also equipped for battle with its extending arms and Gondor projecting crystalline eyes. It was a first-class product that, if put on the market, would sell for hundreds of millions of yen. Although, that was only when factoring its value as an antique. For the purposes of combat, it would have made more sense to mobilize a significantly less expensive familiar. To use such a precious commodity as a tool for murder marked this puppet's master as a completely different breed of crazy from the enemy she had faced up until now.
Vivo in som solitare putres coniferis. Ictius mers obitus dies, et mers natibus dies. Theobeum.
来たわね。
A sound of crackling music box filled the air. The automata, animated by its own courses, approached. The corridor measured approximately 30 feet in length. Alko lay in wait around a corner further down the hall, anticipating the puppet's appearance. Oh man. This is not to buy Sojo time to escape. Far from it. Alko had concluded that she couldn't make a break for it under the current circumstances. Even if she did try to escape, by some miracle made it out of the House of Mirrors, that was as far as she would go. Outside, with no cover, Alko would quickly be overtaken and skewered from behind. As long as her magecraft was disabled, escape was impossible. Instead, she chose to force the enemy back. Her situation was not the most favorable, but neither was the puppet's. Though this narrow hall gave Alko no place to run, it in turn prevented the puppet from reaching full speed. That was the weak point of this machine. Automata of this era had a tendency to struggle with minute changes in speed.
セット。
She flowed energy to her shorted circuits. Her blood flow and magical energy supply were unstable. It would be difficult to construct that formula in this state. All she could do was harden her right arm by imbuing it with as much energy as she could. Wholeheartedly, I'm tired. I think I've been streaming for like almost 3 hours now. 2.5, yeah. Let me see. Doing so turned her arm into an improvised weapon like a hammer or a bat. Assuming she could manage to get into close range combat, this is the best she could do. Excuse me. Oh. All she needed now was the plan of attack. The question wasn't what weapon to use, but how to use the weapon she had. The simplest way would be to use the mirror's reflections to hide and then rush the puppet from its blind spot. Except for one major problem. It did not have a sense of sight in its first place. It did not have a sense of sight in the first place. Yeah, using the thing to harden her arm. Kind of fire. The puppet's view of the world around it did not stem from visual feedback, but from mapping the topography of its surroundings. In theory, it's the same as the bat's echolocation. The environment could be measured based on the emission and return of high-frequency sound waves. Those chants served as sensor pulses. As far as the puppet was concerned, the mirrors were no better than transparent panes, making even the thought of an ambush laughable.
近づけば近づくほどよりリアルに察知される。本当は遠距離からの狙撃が最適なんだけど、ガンドを撃ってくるならフィンの一撃ぐらい隠してるわよね。
Gondor was Scandinavian in origin and, considering its simplicity, highly versatile. It was most effective at impairing a target's health by pointing a finger. As a single action magecraft, it was limited to only causing illnesses. But there was a secret technique said to be the greatest mastery of Gondor shot. the Fin shot. It could do more than cause simple illnesses. It was a deadly curse that could stop the heart. The wound on her back set her nerves on fire. An unarmed girl and a deadly automaton. It was clear that she was the one destined for death. She considered her slim chances of survival when a vision sent chills down her spine. Quietly, using everything she could clamp down on the feeling. It's gonna be tough for a kid and a dog on there. He's a little house. Off is sticking his foot in. That's a bad idea, dude, because now that bee thinks you're a jerk fin. Quietly using everything she could to clamp down on the feeling, Alko faced her all too familiar illusion. She clenched down her teeth to keep them from making a deafening clatter. But there, the sensation of fingers crawling up her neck. Behind her, the specter stared and laughed. This alone made Alko want to bolt. On top of it all, when Alko tried to mentally simulate the coming fight, she estimated a 2 in 10 chance of dying in the first 5 seconds. Wow. Goodness. 20%. At times, her predictions were harsher than reality. If Alko fought the puppet 10 times, she would die twice. She could not stop herself from visualizing her own corpse. She imagined herself collapsing, crumpling under the puppet's curse. Her eyeballs swollen like a blowfish, blood and other fluids oozing from every bodily orifice. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. A 1 in 10 chance of death was bad enough, but 1 in 5? It drove her crazy. Alko forced down her heart as to try to escape from her mouth. Taking in a deep breath, she peered at her own reflection. She thought back to that white night half a year ago. This, she decided, was nothing compared to that. 6 months ago, at the Quology estate. The hound of white roses, the wonder snatch that appeared from within the thick fog, had killed Alko 100 times out of 10.
Mea animae brutalis, autem eftera necada sunt. Manes sum, animam definira ambiguum est.
A dark curse shadowed Alko's daydream. It was only 30 feet away. The puppet rounded the corner. Either side stood in the shadows, their forms indistinct. The puppet gave no warning. Without preamble, it swiftly fired a Gondor barrage. Just as Alko planned, the curses fizzled out as they hit her mist-like barrier of magical energy. Yeah, but I say no wonder it sounded so familiar. The Wonder Snatch. Crazy. The protection would only last a few seconds, giving her just enough time to... because it was snowing, that's why. Its stretchable spear sprang toward Alko's face.
Bingo!
The lethal weapon grazed her cheek. All her experience analyzing puppet attack patterns gave her the wherewithal to evade attack by a hair's breadth. It was one thing if a puppeteer were pulling the strings, but autonomous dolls had their limitation. Alko had bet everything on his clip machine following a predefined template. The puppet would use a given attack for a given range, and she would adjust her tactics to that. Before its arm had a chance to fully retract, she charged the puppet. It was a risky gamble. But her overall... My goodness. Yeah, I remember earlier, when Alice and Alko were talking, she mentioned how, like, I don't know if it was in passing, but how Alice could do a bounded field that was almost like almost equivalent to true magic and stuff like that. And I forgot what his name the kaleidoscope guy, but the real true magic guy. I forgot his name, but yeah, it's crazy. Oh, alright. It was a risky gamble, but her overall chances were slim to begin with. The scales tipped in her favor. If her predictions were correct, there were two ways she would die. One was from a Finn shot fired at that range. Zelric. Yeah, Zelric. And the other was if the puppet's attack pattern was beyond her ability to foresee. Instantaneous mass transfer, otherwise known as mass displacement. Immediately after Alko dodged the puppet's arm, something smashed into her abdomen. The head-on collision from its shoulder felt like a rocket. But where it had the ability to propel itself come from? Puppets like this were not built to have the ability to jet around like that. Doing everything in her power to stay conscious in spite of the pain, Akko could just make out what happened. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. The puppet's arm had now returned to its body. It was lodged in the wall and reeled itself in from the other direction. Swallowing her surprise, she hastily pulled herself back up. Her abdomen, specifically her diaphragm, had been dealt a significant blow. That attack left her disoriented. Thankfully, the puppet was surprisingly lightweight. Her bones and organs were intact, and she had sustained no life-threatening damage. She was having a hard time breathing, however. She was shaken, though she managed to keep her calm. In another 2 seconds, she'd be back on her feet. No, that was 2 seconds too long. She told herself to calm down. That she was already calm. She only briefly lost her bearings. She was fine. She could recover. She could recover her breath and her vision later if only she... Oh man, I can't talk. She could recover her breath and her vision later if only her body would move. Above her, Akko could hear the warped noise of a powerful force. She could once more feel the touch of death. The puppet was so close that Akko could reach out and touch it. That also meant that it could reach out and kill Akko. By intuition alone, Akko rode over to the puppet's right flank. The arm was still embedded within the wall. From here it could not attack. She had made the right decision, and her dizziness faded. Cast off righteousness, lay piety to rest. We beasts are meant to consume each other. Life is but a decoration. Throw away your intellect. Pain powers the mind. Akko put herself back up. It was her turn. I had a feeling since this started, it looks kind of like her. Like, ever since I saw her, back when it was purple. I don't know why it looked purple, probably the lighting, but it looks just like her. Except for like the eye color, but still. Even the haircut and everything. It was only an instant, but in a labyrinth of mirrors, she saw an image of herself. We die. Yeah, basically. Might as well be an Alko bot. This is a Robo Alko. Just like Robo Kai. A blinding, brilliant light flashed. Lacerations appeared across the walls. At the last moment, Alko managed to thicken the magical energy running through her veins into a primitive form of mage crash resistance. It just barely saved her life from what must have been the puppet's ace in the hole. The puppet bore striking resemblance to Alko. His powerful curse was not satisfied with stopping Alko's heart, but destroying her entire being. Alko did not even have the time to be shocked. Not exactly, shut up, Robo Fortune. This is her chance for a counterattack. The puppet's balance was unsteady. Its right arm still embedded in the wall. Alko prepared to give its defenseless body a strong kick, but her knees buckled and she collapsed into a heap on the floor. Yeah, I already read this. A sudden nausea and lightheadedness overcame Alko. Her body temperature began to rapidly lower. She noticed too late. The puppet's curses circled the hall. The cursed chant that the puppet used as a source of power doubled as a defense mechanism, clipping those who drew near with illness. She bore the full brunt the entire time she was in close proximity to it. Although Alko had magic circuits, she succumbing just as Sojiro had. Languidly, she forced her deteriorating body to jump back. With all the energy she could muster, she forced her way past the exhaustion caused by the curse. However, Alko's blood pressure took a steep nosedive, not from the curse-induced anemia, but from what appeared in front of her. They stood in perfect harmony. In front of Alko was the automata that shared her face, its left arm held out like an arrow. The deadly weapon shot forward and honed in on her heart. Then, a moment before it made contact. Oh, okay, just hold on. He's so calm. The moment she heard that fearless voice, completely out of place in this storm of violence, Alko's body was pulled forcefully to one side. Once again, the extending arm cut through empty air. While the puppet quickly retracted its left arm, Sojiro took the brief opportunity to take Alko by the hand and flee at full speed. Sojiro ran through the corridors as fast as he could, always stopping when he had put enough distance between them and the puppet. Though he had saved her, she looked rather angry than grateful. This did not keep Sojiro from saying his piece. Oh man. Oh man, this dude Sojiro, that's hilarious. In other words, let's finish this today. Man, I don't want to do this tomorrow. A rather awkward proposal. Alko remained silent. She was also rather angry. Not that she could figure out what made him tick, nor because he'd returned after escaping. Not even because he was sputting his typical airheaded lies. This dude Sojiro, man, he's so funny. She was supposed to, that instant, but when he grabbed her hand, her mind had gone completely blank. Alko had found it unforgivable, which beckoned her response. In the heat of the moment, she blurted out before she could stop herself.
それとも自殺願望でもあったわけ。私もあいつもあんたなんか殺す対象に過ぎないのよ。少なくとも恩を売る相手じゃない。言っとくけど、私助けられたぐらいで曲がる信念は持ち合わせていないから。
Yeah, whatever. Sojiro nodded, clearly unperturbed.
青崎がそんな可愛らしいもんじゃないのはこの夜だけで骨身に染みてるよ。
She putters. She put. I mean, what else is he supposed to say? You tried to kill him. It's like he doesn't know you yet fully, so of course he's gonna say that. You tried to kill him.
けど君は勘違いをしてるから
Oh,
少し
yeah.
正そう。
She found herself slightly offended.
あいつの狙いは青崎だけじゃない。君だけじゃなく、俺も殺す気だと思う。
She was having none of it. Her eyes shot daggers this way.
話は最後まで聞く。どうしてかっていうと、1階の入り口あるだろ、あの細長い通路。なんでかあそこから先に進めないんだ。逃げたくても逃げ出せなくて、仕方なく戻ってきた。
Mako's eyes widened ever so slightly in the amazement. She felt admiration, rather than shock, that her enemy would go to such length.
それに、さっきので完全に敵扱いされた。あの人形、こっちをじろっと睨んできたし。いや、一瞬でよく見えなかったけど、生きた心地しなかったな。青崎も気をつけた方がいい。よっぽど怖い顔をしている。
Sojo, you're not gonna believe this.
それはご親切にどうも。
A real demonic, almost like Babylon-like, just horrible human face.
なんでこれはもう他人事じゃないんだ。青崎と人形、結論としてどっちが勝っても俺は殺されてしまうんじゃないか。
そうね。そこまでやってるなら目撃者は消すでしょうね。私みたい。
Of course.
だろう。でも俺はあいつには殺されたくない。
え？
His words were decisive. As Alko looked up at him, she could swear he was trying to encourage her. It was then that she realized Sojo was looking even worse than before.
ちょっと待って。大丈夫なのあなた。
Wait, do you mean me or is that a phrase?
まあ、醤油を一升瓶飲むよりはマシではないかと。
That sounds kind of nasty though. He tried to make light of the situation, but his forehead was clearly drenched in sweat.
そうか。さっき人形に近づいたから。
How could he possibly be able to withstand that curse that made even Alko nauseous? She bit her lip, annoyed herself for not noticing this earlier. Sojo was such an airhead that he had even paused to consider his plight.
下で隠れていようとか思わなかったの？その方がどう考えても安全でしょ？
She could not really understand him at all. She really could not understand him at all.
でもまあ、長話をしている時間もない。そろそろ追いついてくる頃だ。
It's so funny that they've been in this situation for like what, an hour now? At least that's my guess. Oh. I heard something similar. It's not the same context or the same meme, but it's the demons of Babylon wear the skin of the righteous. But I think I get it. But yeah, no, what's it called? The fact that this started, you know, Alko was trying to kill Sojo, and then the puppet shows up, and then they run away, and then I think it actually was only once where they run away. Never mind. It is the same one that we're talking about. The demons of Babylon with the skin of the righteous. That's hilarious. But yeah, no, the fact that they ran away, she fought the puppet, and then they ran away again. They're not in the best straits. Okay, so it's felt like an hour for me because it has been. For them, they've only been doing this for half an hour, which, to be fair, to them would probably feel like an hour because they've been like physically straining themselves beyond belief. Oh wait, what did I say? Oh, he turned to look down the corridor. The crackling sounds of a music box could be heard creeping forth from the darkness.
さっき1階にて考えた
Not
んだ
for real.
君がやられても俺は殺されるならまず奴をどうにかするべきだ
あなた何が言いたいの？
She asked the question in which she already knew the answer. She did it to put him to the test. If he wavered even a little, she would have killed him where he... No, you wouldn't have. Yo, come on. You're gonna kill the second protagonist, man. Man. Oh no, wholeheartedly. For them, this probably feels like a whole day. I mean, I think Sojo had a line or something earlier. I was mentioning like what was it? How long time had like how time was passing for him or something like that. That or I'm just fibbing, but I think I vaguely remember something like that. It's been so long. Oh. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, no wonder this section's so long. I forgot that happens later on too. That's crazy. We're not even there yet. Alright,
提案あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら俺のことを見逃してくれる
助けられたぐらいじゃ信念は曲げないって言ったでしょ。それにあなたに何ができるっていうの？
それは青崎が考えてくれ得意だろそういうの
That's very true. Oh yeah, never mind. The second pro tag, yeah. Sojiro's dang, technically Sojiro's kinda like he's a side character actually thinking about it, yeah. But I'm gonna delegate him to third pro tag because why not? The commander who had the overall picture was responsible for delegating the roles to their teammates. It was futile to depend on someone who was unable to grasp the situation or evaluate the enemy's strength. So Jurt was proud to share that he knew this. Hey, at least he's smart about it. He spoke the truth. Akko was the only one who knew both Sojiro and Automata. That was why he pointed out that following her orders to the best of his ability was the only thing he could do. I may have seen as though Sojiro had surrendered his capacity for self-thought. When accepting that he was helpless, he was in fact giving Akko his complete trust.
じゃあ私の指示に 100% 従うってこと？
ああそれにこれは恩とか義理の話じゃない一人だと分が悪いから二人でかかるだけだ善意でも好意でもない取引って言わないかこういうの
It's pretty cold, but he's right. His eyes sparkled, as if it was bartering in its truest form. His child must have learned that from Tobimaru, Alko thought. Sonoji, it's time to show you how to spit game. She refused to let him see it. She smiled inwardly. Sure, he had gotten the best of her just now. But there were times when defeat was not the worst outcome in the world.
労働と報酬ってわけね。それなら理にかなってる。うん。言いたくないけど。
She relaxed her shoulders and sighed. Her face cracked into a wicked grin, as if her fears had suddenly washed away.
それ、結構私の好みよ。
Akko repaid Sojiro's trust in equal measure.
結構きついかもね。あなたの役目。
Oh man. Alright, let's see what time is it right now. Almost 1:30. Alright. Realistically speaking, how much left do I have for the, I guess, for the puppet? Think like it's like a decent amount, or am I nearing the end of the puppet? Alright, let's see. Because generally, oh man. I'm a little tired, I'm not gonna lie. The stopping point is like 2 more sections left, so you have the Sanji part. Let me see, how long have I been going for? 3 hours. Alright. I think I'm gonna stop here because I'm getting tired and I don't want that to impact my reading, even though I can't read. So we're just gonna do this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Night of the Witches 5. Dang, that's crazy. Actually, hold on. Let me take a look at that title, and then go to the archives. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Already gone through 4 sections. That's crazy. The intro, her trying to kill him, the puppet, and then her fight. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Shoot. Alright, yeah, that's crazy. I got really far in this one. I did not think I would get this far. I'll be honest, I thought I had another stream until I got to the amusement park, but nah, we're here. We're here. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see oh my goodness. Oh well, considering how long it is, that makes sense. But wow, that's crazy. Yo, this is definitely the longest chapter in the game. There's no doubt. Oh my goodness, this is definitely the longest chapter. Man. Genuinely, like, I feel like the first 30 minutes are just going to be like, oh yeah, you know, we get the introductions, like this is Sojiro, this is Tobimaru, Alice, Kamari, all these people, and the next thing you know, what? Oh well, that is the final chapter of the game, so that does make sense, or at least one of the final ones. So that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't even know how long it's gonna take me to even finish that one, but chapter 5 probably take me like 2 to 4 streams the way it's looking, because like that it's a biggin. It's a biggin, and the fact that I'm not even halfway done with it is crazy. So I'm really in the thick of it for the visual novel now. That's crazy. I'm so glad there are no choices, because oh man, I don't even know how I would have done that. Yeah, so far I've been enjoying it. Honestly, let me go to the extras so I can have a better time explaining it. So I think so far, I think chapter 2 might have been my favorite because of just Sojiro and Tobimaru talking. It was a really nice, like, wholesome moment. Chapter 4, you know, I enjoyed it for what it was, with Alice and Alco talking. I enjoyed these 2 sections, but chapter 5 so far, like, since I remember what you told me, I remember that, like, yeah, this section, like this section's only the beginning, so I'm looking forward to the Ferris wheel. I'm looking forward to that and the moon and stuff like that. I'm really excited for that. But so far I'm invested. I'm engaged. I'm laughing at the cute little character quirks that they have. The chemistry so far it's building. It's really cute, and it's just it has me engaged for sure. Yeah, no. Once you told me that, like, oh yeah, like read the in between stuff, because it adds even more context. It's like, you know what? That's fair, because like the main chapters are generally just like more about the magic stuff, while the in betweens are the school stuff and the other characters. But genuinely, I don't know, because like the slice of life stuff in the school is fun, but only with the right characters. Because the orange shirt guy, he like he's alright to me. I'm indifferent towards him. It's definitely more Tobimaru and Sojiro's relationship that I'm more interested in. But then again, I haven't met everybody in the school, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I'm excited to see. Ah, that's true. I forgot that happens. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see that too. Just like him moving in over there, adding more life to the mansion. I'm definitely excited for that too. But nah, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the story so far. I'm still like, I'm definitely not even halfway, considering like I'm not even at the end of the shelf, but I'm enjoying it. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I can't wait to see that one. I'm right now. I'm the Toby Mar preacher. I can't wait to see it. So far, the only let me see. I have golly, I can't talk. I have this game right now that I'm playing, the Witch on the Holy Night, and Steins Gate that I have planned for visual novels. So I'm gonna see how long those take me. But right now, I know like Witch on the Holy Night is an investment, so I'm gonna be here for a while. But I'm having fun with it, so you know I'm not complaining. Oh man, but yeah, no, if anything, yeah, I think I'm just gonna end the stream here. But if you want to ask me anything else, you can just message me about it. But yeah, no, I'll next time I stream it, hopefully it won't be at 1 in the morning, so I can at least get some decent progress on it. But yeah, no, I'm gonna end it here. So shoot, thank you for watching, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, next time, hopefully gonna be able to exit the mirror house, and we're gonna see Alco really become a gamer. But yeah, let me exit that. Back on the home screen. But yeah.